The ultimate showdown wraps up with a single crimson handprint smeared against the ruins, his sacred staff smashed into a million pieces. Our guy Yan Yang Gong, the ultimate light priest, is completely broken and collapsed on his knees. His mind is spinning, trying to process this absolute. He screams at the sky, violently demanding to know why a divine angel would ever team up with literal monsters. And then, the brutal truth steps right into view. The goddess of light herself, chilling side by side. Her justification is just ice-cold, ruthless logic. To her, the human race was nothing but a massive, losing gamble. Yan Yang Gong snaps, screaming that her massive backstab is the literal only reason humanity took the L. But the Demon King just chuckles. He brutally roasts the final surviving healer. Then, with one lazy flick of his wrist, he launches the priest across the battle. The demonic boss totally eats up this victory, absolute malice glowing in his eyes. A gigantic, shadowy hand drops from the sky, ready to literally delete him from reality. The immense gravity crushes him down, his bones snapping under the insane pressure. His last seconds alive are nothing but absolute. The colossal fist slams shut, one brutal, sickening crunch. And boom, our hero is officially wiped out, leaving zero traces except a messy stain on the pavement. But hold up, a holographic system window suddenly flashes. He just unlocked the Demon Lord system. Our guy is deeply confused, considering he was literally just flattened into a pancake seconds ago. The interface teleports his soul to a creepy spot called the Demon Altar. He is officially a level 1 demon boss now, rocking garbage stats that would not even intimidate a stray kitten. His eyes burst open, flashing a menacing, bloodshot crimson. The warp spits him out onto an insanely eerie, abandoned stone platform. A colossal, cross-shaped casket towers right above him. And guess what? There are actually 10 of these bad boys, perfectly lined up in a creepy, dark ring. Our dude obviously questions this heavy goth aesthetic, and the prompt hits him with the truth. He is the new top dog of this underworld. And he has 10 insanely overpowered demonic generals waiting to be on. Yan Yang Gong is having a major existential crisis. He literally dedicated his entire existence to wiping out these exact monsters. He is absolutely mind-blown that his cosmic karma is literally a forced draft onto the opposing squad. Out of nowhere, one of the massive tombs starts vibrating, radiating an intense, pitch-black aura. Then it suddenly clicks. This forbidden magic is his ultimate cheat code for payback. Rocking a fresh, vicious glare, he locks in and the digital guide feeds him the exact steps for his epic respawn back to the surface world. He plants his foot on the summon circle, and the whole cavern ignites. Sizzling neon blue lightning shoots from the floor, chaining directly into one specific casket. It crashes into the stone like a master key, twisting open a forbidden vault. Raw, unhinged energy violently erupts from the magical link, swallowing Yan Yang Gong inside a blinding, explosive beam. In that flash, he swears to absolutely wreck that two-faced deity. The holy healer is officially gone. Meet the new, dangerously overpowered demon boss, who is out for serious payback. Popping back into reality, our guy stumbles upon his own literal tombstone. His former squad mate, Su Ding Fang, is standing right there, angrily, that is, until a voice casually chimes in from behind, harshly judging the cheap grave design. Su Ding Fang snaps his neck back, totally paralyzed by that classic voice. And boom, it is actually him, freshly revived and instantly roasting his own funeral budget. The dude is so utterly shook that his candy falls right out of his mouth. He stutters out his name, and yes, the legend has returned. Proving he is definitely not some glitch in the Matrix, his bro absolutely loses it. Tears streaming, he confesses he has been pulling up to this dirt mound for 5 whole, which totally blindsides Yan Yang Gong, who had zero clue he just skipped half a decade. But honestly, his friend's focus is wildly off track. He is actually mad that our boy is somehow still stuck at level 2. Walking through the city to vibe, they stroll past this gigantic, majestic angel monument. And Su Ding Fang drops the fake news timeline. The Celestials supposedly clutched the victory, so now society treats them like absolute idols. Knowing the filthy, backstabbing truth, Yan Yang Gong is internally gagging at the sight. His buddy shrugs, admitting he totally fell for the propaganda too. But hey, it is party time. He even offers to buy him dinner at this hyped-up new restaurant. But our guy is fully locked in. No food, just straight to a raid to grind some levels. Su Dingfang nods along, but gives him a heads up that the meta has severely changed over these 5 years. Cue a massive reality check for our newly revived boss, because hunting zones, they are totally corporate now. They literally have front desk ticketing, and the cost is straight up extortion. A massive entry tax, plus they snatch 80% of your drops. The desk clerk claps back with major attitude, claiming this wild inflation is just the modern standard. So Su Dingfang instantly winds up to knock his teeth out, but Yan Yang Gong grabs his shoulder. Then, we get a rapid-fire history lesson. Ages ago, mankind locked the nightmare creatures deep inside these raid zones. But now those ancient wards are cracking, unleashing these freaks to wreak havoc, which is exactly why hunters had to scrub these zones in the first place. And in a gut-wrenching flashback, it hits us. Su Dingfang was the lone survivor of his fallen squad. Yan Yang Gong is still mauling over that 80% loot tax, calling it absolute highway robbery. His bro breaks it down. Since the war ended, these dungeons devolved into pure cash grabs. Still, he happily spots Yan Yang Gong the entry fee, paying it forward since Yan carried them back in the day. Su Dingfang finally asks what the grand master plan is, and Yan Yang Gong just casually drops that he is going to farm experience and straight up enslave the dungeon boss. Out of nowhere, his demonic eyes ignite. He tracks incoming danger, and both dudes snap their heads up, as a suffocating shadow swallows them, exposing a massive level 1 scorpion, basically a total noob zone mob. Su Dingfang tells him to chill and watch a pro go to work. He charges his magic, but our so-called pro instantly gets a lethal pincer, swiped right at his skull. This armored freak forcing him to pop a desperate, flimsy barrier that barely tanks the strike. He gets totally ragdolled by the sheer kinetic force, utterly outmatched. He slams flat into the dirt as the monstrosity towers over his body, locked and loaded for the kill. Yan Yang Gong figures his buddy can squash these trash mobs easily, but the experience drop rate is straight garbage. So Su Dingfang tells him to aggro an entire swarm for some juicy area of effect destruction. Boom! Loot and experience points instantly shower down, painting the wasteland with shattered scorpion armor. In zero flat, Yan Yang Gong dings level 2. His insane speed blows his buddy away, and it triggers a brand new ability. A terrifying crowd control stun called Soul Tremor. Now, he is pumped to flex his ultimate party trick. Su Dingfang absolutely loses his mind, hyping himself up to witness a sick demonic conversion. But Yan Yang Gong flips the script. He commands the slaughtered bugs to rise up as his own personal squad. Pure abyssal energy pulses into the crushed carcasses, forcing their broken shells to violently snap back together. In an eruption of hellfire, they warp into a wicked, nightmarish new form, leaving Su Dingfang staring in dead silence, brain short-circuiting. Because right there, 2 savage humanoid scorpion gladiators materialize. His bro is just mind blown by how insanely overpowered this necromancy drip actually is. Without missing a beat, Yan Yang Gong barks out their first directive: wipe the dungeon clean. The demonic hybrids launch like missiles, thirsty to obliterate anything breathing. They mercilessly blend the leftover grunts into dust. Meanwhile, Su Dingfang cooks up a genius strat, away from keyboard grinding. It is such a big brain move, he literally gives himself a massive thumbs up. Su Dingfang rants that with these gouging prices, raiding is practically a bankrupting hobby. When suddenly, swoosh, a toxic energy beam scorches the air right past them. The big bad has entered the chat. Su Dingfang panics as one of their scorpion guards gets instantly nuked to ash, its decapitated head, pathetically apologizing for waking the boss and being absolute fodder. Yan Yang Gong just stares it down, stone cold and unfazed. He never expected his starter summons to solo this anyway, leaving him to square off against the dungeon boss one-on-one. standing ankle-deep in his minions' shattered parts. Enter the Mole King Rark, a colossal, tank-plated mutant bug that looks violently pissed off. So Su Dingfang flexes up, ready to soak aggro like the good old days, barking at Yan Yanggong to stay back. But Yan pulls an Uno reverse. His damage output is trash right now, so he is playing human bait. His 200 IQ play? Giving the monster the middle finger. A legendary disrespect that instantly triggers the Mole King into a bloodthirsty rampage. Yan Yanggong rapid fires the strat. He drops the stun. Su lands the critical strike. The kid immediately bolts, kiting the gargantuan raging beast across the arena. The juggernaut rapidly closes the distance, seconds away from turning him into roadkill, but Yan executes a buttery smooth slide right between its massive legs. At the absolute final millisecond, his irises explode with abyssal energy as he blasts Soul Tremor, and the Mole King locks up cold, 100% petrified by the terror debuff. Now, do it! Yan Yanggong roars, launching Su Dingfang into a hyperspeed dash for the execution. He connects a flawless, devastating thrust straight through the boss' weak point. But the stun shatters instantly. The Mole King snaps out of it, absolutely furious, and torpedoes straight into the dirt with a deafening shockwave, gouging out a massive crater right between our two heroes. Su Dingfang totally roasts his bro for that absolute fail of an attack, but Yan Yanggong brushes it off, claiming he was just... Obviously, our guy is already cooking up a massive brain play. He is playing the ultimate bait, knowing this beast is literally terrified of him. It is bound to ambush from the shadows for a cheap one-shot. Su Dingfang is absolutely hyped by this next-level tactic. But Yan Yanggong plays it cool, saying he picked up the trick from top-tier gamers. Incoming! The dirt behind him explodes as the massive Mole King shatters the surface. Su Dingfang is locked and loaded for the execution, but plot twist, the overgrown rat straight-up ghosts Yan Yanggong. Instead, it violently snaps its jaws and hurtles directly toward his bestie's face. Bro is seconds away from becoming a midday snack. However, right at the buzzer, Yan Yanggong's crimson gaze pulses, locking the mutant dead in its tracks. He screams that his mana is draining fast, propelling Su Dingfang into a savage sprint before driving a lethal, blood-spraying blow deep into the monster's stomach. The Mole King crumbles to the dirt, coughing up some insanely top-tier drops for a beginner zone. We are talking a heavy shield that absorbs raw kinetic energy to unleash a devastating nuke, alongside a wicked blade packing a hidden passive for lightning-fast combo strikes. Su Dingfang is absolutely mind-blown. These stats are for a Stage 1 instance. But Yan Yanggong smirks, admitting he simply rolled the dice, banking on an elite boss, hiding its lower-level spawn in the shadows. After letting his bro snag first dibs, Su Dingfang instantly claims the heavy bulwark to complete his frontliner loadout. He confesses he was always a bruiser at heart, only maining support to carry his toxic ex-party. Our MC assumes these drops will instantly wipe his massive debt, but his partner drops a brutal reality check about inflation. Cut straight to the guild's reception, where Yan Yanggong violently smashes the counter, roasting this corrupt syndicate for monopolizing the market, and forcing struggling hunters to pawn their hard-earned drops for literal pennies. The smug clerk just laughs in their faces, boldly threatening to tax their raw experience points if they keep whining. A literal pioneer of corporate greed. Right as the vibe gets, Su Dingfang desperately tries to chill everyone out, but Yan Yanggong's demonic vision is already throbbing. He detects a seriously twisted vibe radiating off this arrogant desk clerk, and the rat immediately validates his radar, throwing up a massive middle finger while flashing an incredibly toxic, shadowy aura. Out of nowhere, a hulking, bald musclehead and his armed entourage barge into the spotlight, aggressively barking at our duo to scram before bodies start dropping. But Yan Yanggong instantly pivots his strategy, violently demanding that very same shield as payout for his sheer emotional trauma. Despite Su Dingfang intensely freaking out, he physically forces the gear into the thug's hands, flashing a psycho, blood-red smirk. He vows that he will be retrieving his property in record time. Smash cut to midnight. The boys pull up to a sketchy, isolated warehouse, absolutely locked in for some savage revenge. Inside this dump, the syndicate thugs are totally in their villainous little man cave, while the head honcho binges a broadcast about mysteriously vanished hunters. Big surprise there. A lowly grunt questions him about some super sus VIP who visits every week, only to get aggressively shut down. Meanwhile, terrifying amounts of abyss magic leak through a sealed back door, setting the stage for a totally unhinged cannibal feast. Because some absolute psycho is gleefully munching on a fresh victim with a horrifying, bone-crunching snap. A random crash outside ruins the twisted dinner party, prompting the boss to dispatch a lackey who whines that it is probably just some wild trash panda. What an absolute legend of situational awareness. Next thing you know, their stolen bulwark drops from the sky, totally obliterating a vehicle's engine block, as Yan Yang Gong materializes from the shadows, ready to collect his tax. The dynamic duo struts out of the darkness, officially launching this hardcore reclamation operation, terrifying the low-levels, who scrambles desperately indoors to alert the squad. The remaining mobsters flinch, absolutely shell-shocked by this massive security breach. Right on cue, Yan Yang Gong's crimson pupils flare up, blasting the bald kingpin with a horrific mental wave that paralyzes him in cold sweat. That is the ultimate green light for Su Dingfeng, who blasts through the threshold like a literal freight train, dropping a colossal hammer punch onto a paralyzed thug. He violently bulldozes the entire living room, tossing goons and couches like rag dolls, even straight up yeeting a dude through plate glass for maximum cinematic effect. But the bald brute snaps his trance, roaring as he ignites a blazing spell. Massive plot twist. This meathead is a spellcaster, but our MC flawlessly dodges the inferno. With his hideout completely trashed, the desperate leader shrieks for his crew to butcher the brat instantly. But Yan Yang Kong's demonic vision ignites once more. Get ready for another round of soul tremor. Unleashing that nightmare fuel-red aura, he slams the boss with pure intimidation, practically mind-controlling the dude into pointing his own piece right at his dome. Total self-destruction, and boom, the entire squad is wiped. But he is not clocking out yet. A seriously sinister vibe is leaking from the back room. The door groans open, because horror movie rules, obviously, and our guy strolls right in, fully prepped for whatever absolute nightmare is lurking inside. First visual? A partially devoured corpse sprawled on a table. Guess that solves the mystery of the missing adventurers. Complete with a lovely, aesthetic stack of skulls, chilling in the corner to tie the whole cursed room. Yan Yang Gong steps right up to the man-eater, calling him out for being absolute gutter trash. But the creep just smirks, flexing that he is about to add a level 2 adventurer to his tasting menu. Our boy? He just hits him with a cold grin. Zero panic. He casually drops a reminder that he is here to collect what belongs to him. That completely triggers the freak, who starts charging up a wicked inferno, fully intending to deep fry him on the spot. His palms erupt with some heavy-duty flames. Turns out this psycho is a mage, and he casually yeets a massive barrage of fire straight at our MC. But Yan Yang Gong just flawlessly weaves through the inferno, blade drawn, leaving the fire slinger dripping with sweat, finally realizing he just picked a fight with the Grim Reaper. Moving at warp speed, our guy carves a glowing crimson web through the air. The man-eater is absolutely malfunctioning. The intel said level 1 healer, not a literal meat grinder. A scarlet flash shaves right past his cheek, way too close. Then the weapon's passive triggers, ripping out a bonus phantom strike just to disrespect him. The mage glances down, totally paralyzed by the blinding speed. He is suddenly leaking from a dozen fresh gashes before his brain even processes the pain. Then, our boy casually pitches him a career change, become his personal lackey. A true privilege, honestly. Shockingly, the man-eater does not exactly leave a 5-star review for that offer. Homeboy attempts one final, ultimate move, desperately gripping his own wrist to squeeze out some last-second scorch magic. But Yan Yang Gong just stares blankly like, "Are we wrapping this up?" Boom! A colossal shockwave of shadow energy instantly deletes the guy from existence. Out of the thick smoke steps a demonic silhouette with neon eyes, posing under the moonlight and rocking a weirdly drippy spiked gold belt. Plot twist. The cannibal was just a flesh mech for a level 2 elite fiend named Punji. The beast is utterly disgusted, annoyed that his meat suit got folded by a basic level 2 human. He casually complains about accidentally torching his own ride, meaning he needs to hijack a new one. First world demon problems. While the shadow beast yaps, Yan Gong is already cooking up a demon-taming hex. Punji aggressively snaps his neck around, feeling the shift in the vibe, just as our guy blasts a spiraling hurricane of crimson magic straight at his dome. The arrogant beast just sneers, bragging that a sluggish hex could never tag him, right as it absolutely claps him in the jaw. The hex connects, but Punji just cackles, trash-talking his dial-up speed. The second Yan Gong spots the incoming retaliation. A tidal wave of pure heat forces him to vault for survival, letting the whole room detonate into ash beneath him. Yeah, our boy realizes he is officially in the danger zone. The explosion is a raging cyclone of corrupted hellfire that immediately melts the floorboards, completely roasting the remaining henchmen below. Yikes. Yan Gong instantly calculates that he needs a scenery change, like yesterday. He violently blasts straight through the ceiling to grab some altitude, with Punji glued right to his 6. Trolling his retreat and flexing that his signature hellfire turns everything to dust, the beast rockets through the tree line like a literal homing missile. He touches down the second he loses radar lock, spitting venom and calling him a slippery little rat. Right on cue, a sharp hum slices the dead silence right past his ear. Yan Gong plummets out of the canopy with a brutal plunge attack, carving a savage, gaping rift straight across the demon's torso. Punji glares at his own leaking chest in absolute shock, then completely loses his mind, revving up a point-blank hell blast to pay him back. But our guy is already defying gravity, styling on the blast and dodging it effortlessly. The fiend is fully tilted now, swearing to literally peel him apart for that disrespect. Barking a savage war cry, he slingshots himself forward, screeching, "You are finished." Punji just spams a chaotic meteor shower of cursed flames, making Yan Gong hit the dash for his literal life as the entire forest gets nuked. And this tsunami of absolute ruin is not slowing down. So our boy full sends it, swan diving right off a jagged cliff. He touches down in a craggy gorge, blade primed for a counterstrike. But Punji is instantly on his neck, laughing at him for locking himself in a literal box. The beast flexes hard. Game over, buddy. End of the line. He immediately pulls the trigger on his absolute finisher, the Inferno Cannon. A colossal blast of demonic fire shreds straight through the gorge, carving out a scorched, smoking trench right where Yan Gong was just standing. Punji starts whining about his previous vessel catching the sugar sickness. Apparently, he is totally done with heavy-set dudes, but his cocky victory rant gets a titanic, heavily armored golem plummets from the clouds, pile-driving the demon into the dirt with an earth-shattering crunch. The beast literally squashes Punji flat. The demon is utterly mind-blown by the blind side, desperately trying to compute how a mere mortal tanked his apocalyptic strike. Glancing back at the barren crater, the horrifying realization hits him like a truck. It was a phantom. He got totally juked into a setup by the underage minion. But Punji refuses to tap out, surging his dark aura and screeching that this weak garbage will never keep him down. Enter Yan Gong, looking effortlessly cool as he leans against his towering rock beast. With a flick of his wrist, a radiant magical chain snakes outward. He triggers the enslaved demon's spell, summoning a gargantuan, shadowy phantom that towers over his shoulder. The pupils of Punji instantly spin into a dizzying hypnosis. The brainwashing locks in deep. Without missing a beat, our guy commands his rocky titan to let go of their freshly tamed lapdog. Naturally, agenda item number 1 is aggressively looting the absolute soul out of his new demonic bank account. He instantly regurgitates the swiped shield, alongside an entire arsenal of premium, high-tier armor, and then drops an insanely massive mountain of glittering bullion. Talk about a major bag alert. Pundi confesses that he literally swallowed the entire vault of the syndicate, all compressed into pure profit. Our protagonist is absolutely floored to discover this stash is worth over 10 million bucks, purely funded by griefing noobs. Suddenly, a metallic link shatters. Big yikes! That audio cue spells major trouble, and a glowing interface alert. The monster is resisting the hack. Pundi flares up his chaotic aura for one final clash, flashing a sickeningly arrogant grin as he roars. He throws a wild, all-or-nothing haymaker, detonating a lethal shockwave directly into the face of Yan Yang Gong. But karma hits harder, and the recoil is brutally hilarious. The blowback literally yeets Pundi into the stratosphere, instantly deleting his physical. That savage glitch scores our guy a fresh level up, plus an overpowered Lord ability that passively siphons experience points straight from his underlings. Now, he just chills in the wreckage, gazing down at a bite-sized, cartoonishly cute variant of Pundi, rocking intensely radiant pupils. Yang Yang Gong forces his micro-minion to pledge unbreakable allegiance. Magical electricity sparks off his skin as he locks in another permanent spot. Boom! Pundi instantly morphs into a ride-or-die level 3 vassal, totally primed for commands. Zero tutorial necessary. Realizing these entry-level zones are a total scam, our anti-hero decides it is high time to hunt down some off-the-grid, hardcore combat. So his premier directive for the pint-sized devil is straight to the point. Navigate him directly to the remaining beast encampments. Cut to an incredibly average, run-down housing block. A golden-haired dude cracks his door open to a mystery package he definitely did not purchase, awkwardly lugging the gigantically heavy crate into his living room. Fully expecting some troll to have mailed him cinder blocks, but popping the lid reveals his heavily missed shield, nestled under a staggering heap of solid gold. Absolute top-tier troll job. A handwritten memo from Yan Yang Gong breaks down the care package, even tossing him a VIP invite to squad up for future raids, leaving the poor guy completely paralyzed with shock. He simply cannot fathom that somebody legitimately wrecked that shady syndicate and retrieved his gear. He is also tearing up while hugging his first ever piece of bullion, which is honestly a whole vibe. While he is indoors, shrieking his lungs out over his new wealth, the supposed courier is just chilling quietly in the hallway. Plot twist. It is actually Pundi, rocking a sneaky top 10 anime sidekicks. Yan Yang Gong smirks at the clean execution, but his brain is already plotting his next power play. He is currently surfing on the shoulder of his giant rock mech, casually checking in with his mini-demon to see if they hit the next waypoint. The tiny guide has navigated them straight to a breathtakingly colossal cathedral of the sun deity. Honestly, a super unhinged destination for a creature of darkness. The pint-sized theme drops some serious lore, stating that bulldozing these holy shrines directly saps the energy of the radiant angel. And that is all the green light our boy needs. He instantly approves a schedule filled with some hardcore, unholy vandalism. He murmurs an order to his earthen titan, newly dubbed Rark, commanding him to cloak his presence until the perfect ambush window opens. Meanwhile, panning back to the old turf of the Outlaw Guild, Zhu Tong, the chief financial officer of this shady operation, storms into the wreckage, aggressively barking demands about the recently deceased, flesh-eating kingpin. Yet his terrified henchmen can only stammer out that an ungodly inferno spell literally vaporized the entire crew into dust. Zhu Tong is absolutely seeing red. Not because his blood relative got packed up, but because his 10 million gold stash is gone. Cutting back inside the cathedral, a level 3 corrupted paladin holds the front line, while Yan Yang Gong is already boxed in by hostile forces. Yet he is just chilling, effortlessly draining free experience from the very first guy. Our main character generously hands them a single, fleeting window to throw in the towel. You know, just maintaining basic professional courtesy before the bloodbath. But their reply is a massive broadsword swung directly at his skull. Welp, diplomacy is officially dead. Yan Yang Gong lazily sidesteps the strike. Another grunt lunges in, blade raised for the execution, only to eat a point-blank soul tremor straight to the dome. The dude gets launched, totally brain-fried by the psychic blast. Seeing this, the rest of the squad just full sends it, trying to physically bulldoze our guy right off the ledge. Yan Yang Gong winds up to nuke the whole pack with a second tremor, but a massive radiant barrier flashes into existence, completely shutting the spell down. So, plan B? He literally just vaults clean over the entire stampede of clanking meatheads. He drops from the sky, unleashing a brutal cleave that shreds straight through their ranks, his sword slicing a flawless arc through the air. Suddenly, our dude turns into an absolute blender, ricocheting from target to target. These tin cans are terrified, but falling back is not an option unless they want their boss to end them. And speak of the devil, the level 3 elite overseer finally crashes the party. He whips his head around, spotting the one-man apocalypse, utterly dismantling his front line. He hefts a colossal battle axe, ready to handle the trash himself. The brute's weapon flares with blinding holy energy, revving up for a catastrophic strike. He brings the heat, gouging an absolute crater right down the dead center of the overpass. And in a flawless showcase of zero IQ-friendly fire, he vaporizes his... And this clown actually has the audacity to call Yan Yang Gong a monster for it. The sheer hypocrisy is off the charts. Cut to Pundi miles away, sneezing from the secondhand disrespect. But back on the bridge, our boy is chilling. Tucked safely behind his rock golem, who tanked that impact like an absolute unit, Yan Yang Gong flips the boss a very universal middle finger salute. The beefcake goes nuclear, screaming that they will pay in blood for desecrating his sanctuary. He winds up for round 2, proving that stealth was never an option, and drops the hammer with every ounce of muscle he has got. Bam! Smash cut to a totally different vibe, where some random guy's head just gets cleanly separated from his shoulders. His wingman watches it bowl past, experiencing a very justified total meltdown. The poor sap drops to his knees, bawling for mercy. Pinned against the brickwork, a purple-haired, lethal shadow is grilling him about an ex-guildie. He flashes a pic of a blonde dude chewing on a toothpick. The snitch instantly clocks the face, Su Ding Fang. Netta, the assassin, flashes a truly psychotic grin. He demands the home address, looming over the guy who is literally hugging his buddy's corpse. Traumatized by how Netta just one-tapped their main tank, the informant drops the exact coordinates in one panicked breath. He just wants to breathe tomorrow. Netta tilts his head, asking if he looks like a bad guy, before telling the snitch to scram. Spoiler alert, scram means getting erased, about sparing his life. Shocking, right? Just to flex, he triggers a lethal art called Magic Blade Hidden Heart. With a single stomp, a shockwave of kinetic fury rips through the concrete, obliterating the snitch against the wall. We are talking cut completely in half. That is one hardcore way to silence a leak. Mission accomplished. Netta casually checks his notifications and mutters, "Next," like he is just ordering a pizza. Meanwhile, back at a painfully average apartment complex, Su Ding Fang catches a sharp knock at his front door. He checks the peephole, probably hoping for another care package from Yan Yang Gong. Nope, it is Netta, asking if he is the bounty. Flashback to the holy battleground. Some heavyweight paladin is lounging on a solid gold throne, locking eyes with a solo trespasser strolling up his velvet carpet. Enter Yan Yang Gong. He just hit level 4 and he is out for blood. The knight is fuming, calling him a pathetic insect, and demanding to know why his overseer is dragging his feet. So, Yan Yang Gong gets cheeky. He pinches a tiny bug in his fingers and crushes it into absolute dust right in front of him. Looking for this guy? He taunts. The ultimate disrespect. Then, he casually chucks the overseer's severed dome, letting it bounce all the way down the grand staircase. It lands with a heavy thud. Yeah, that mini-boss is super dead. The throne sitter is shook. He realizes this kid just solo-wiped an elite vanguard without breaking a sweat. So, he kicks off his villain monologue, yapping about how our boy stepped into the wrong neighborhood. He drops his title, the level 22 corrupted commander Argus. Kinda cringe. To skip the dialogue, Yan Yang Gong blasts a soul tremor right at his face, but the hex just fizzles out. The guy's psychic resistance is off the charts. Argus instantly blasts into the stratosphere for a crushing dive bomb, unleashing a colossal neon energy cleave that is pure flash. Yan Yang Gong barely sidesteps the impact, instantly exploiting the lag to punish him with a pristine, razor-sharp counterattack, launching the heavy metal commander violently through the air. But our guy immediately registers the stat check. This boss's speed and power are on a totally different tier. Argus's crazy momentum drags him skidding halfway across the cathedral roof. Not missing a beat, Yan Yang Gong starts charging a sinister aura of shadow magic in his palm, then blasts off the tiles, hurling an orb of pure, volatile, purple doom right at him. But Argus reads the play, popping a radiant barrier to tank the hit. That pitch-black magic violently crashes right into the divine shield, triggering an absolutely earth-shattering shockwave. When the smoke finally clears, the knight is somehow still on his feet. Bro is completely flabbergasted, unable to process how his ultimate defense just got vaporized by a basic tier fire spell. But before he can even calculate the math, cold steel is already pressed against because Yan Yang Gong completely ghosted behind him, locked and loaded for the execution. Argus actually starts whining about getting caught by a dirty sneak attack. With a literal blade to his windpipe, mind you, Yan Yang Gong instantly claps back, flaming the knight's non-existent morals for bowing down to a backstabbing god. Snick! The knight's head goes soaring through the air. GG, right? Nope. His gauntlet is still clutching that hilt in a death grip, which is a massive red flag. This decapitated corpse literally stands back up and starts swinging blind. Employee of the month right here. Our boy is dead-ass paralyzed, desperately trying to figure out how this guy is still throwing hands after a guaranteed execution. Turns out, the knight is pulsating with some seriously overpowered, and Yan Yang Gong instantly registers that this regeneration factor is completely off the charts compared to anything he has ever faced. This headless freak suddenly winds up a skull-crushing haymaker, violently launching our boy completely across the concrete roof. Radiating raw energy, Argus preps to completely vaporize him, detonating a blinding radiant flash that catches Yan Yang Gong totally lacking. A colossal pillar of divine energy blasts straight into the atmosphere. Once the debris finally settles, the knight is just standing there. Suddenly snapping his gaze upward, we are ripped straight into a flashback. Argus is loudly trashing his absolutely useless security detail. Then, it finally clicks in his brain. He suddenly recognizes a rookie Yan Yang Gong from years ago, utterly mind-blown that the kid is even still breathing. The memory replays his guildmate getting absolutely pulverized by the giant scorpion faction. They dragged themselves to the adventurer tribunal, begging for a fair trial from Argus himself. Back in the day, his buddy got completely framed for theft and forcefully stripped of his entire adventurer license. Meanwhile, the actual mastermind, Joe Tong, casually walked away without a single scratch on his record. Justice is totally rigged, honestly. And the crooked official who rubber-stamped that garbage ruling? Argus. The guy looks absolutely petrified now that his dirty laundry is being aired out. He desperately tries to spin some toxic garbage about the goddess's divine favor, acting all high and mighty like a total hypocrite. Snapping back to reality, the headless knight surges with power, guaranteeing this next strike is an absolute homing missile. His broadsword practically hyperventilates with an insane concentration of divine aura, calling down a gigantic celestial executioner's sword, dubbed Light Judgment. Yan Yang Gong furiously backflips, dodging the initial pavement-pulverizing shockwave by actual millimeters. As this titanic blade violently plummets toward the concrete, our guy feels the magical crosshairs lock onto his soul, and he knows it is completely time to unleash the heavy artillery. Channeling a chaotic, swirling tornado of magenta aura around his body, it is an absolutely busted skill that literally devours the enemy's attack timeline. Argus finally pieces together how our boy tanked that earlier hit, but violently scoffs, swearing that plot armor will not save him a second time. This colossal holy nuke drops with supersonic velocity, crashing straight down like a meteor right onto Yan Yang Gong's coordinates. Boom! The devastating strike is instantly completely stonewalled by the magenta barrier. Argus is losing his mind that a total rookie is flexing a defense this absolutely cracked. But the knight still tries to downplay the threat. Yan Yang Gong just casually raises a single palm, flawlessly sustaining the barricade, as thousands of pounds of divine pressure crush down, forcing spiderweb fractures to aggressively spread across his shield. The barrier fiercely buckles under the suffocating pressure. Neon shards violently explode everywhere as it completely disintegrates, leaving Yan Yang Gong sweating over his severely depleted mana bar. The vicious blowback sends the headless freak violently cartwheeling through the air, completely excavating a massive crater deep into the rooftop, leaving Argus practically malfunctioning. He is utterly paralyzed that our boy somehow tanked another guaranteed finisher. Smirking, Yan Yang Gong drops the lore. His time-burning passive actually neutralizes incoming damage, assuming the level difference is not entirely out of bounds. Running entirely on fumes, our guy aggressively declares it is payback time. He violently triggers soul-exploding Inferno, maliciously dumping absolutely every single drop of his remaining mana into a devastating cyclone of abyssal energy violently spirals straight for the night. Argus desperately braces his stance, fully committing to tanking this monstrosity, face first. The abyssal laser viciously crashes against his broadsword, and even this headless tank is fiercely trembling, holding on to dear life. But Yan Yang Gong's nuke refuses to let up, ruthlessly multiplying the pressure until it utterly breaks the knight's defense, and the concrete completely liquefies beneath his boots. This entire rooftop is instantly vaporized into nothing but microscopic dust, from the sheer destructive payload detonating at the epicenter. Through the smoke, Argus is miraculously still breathing. He actually nods his head, admitting our boy packs way more punch than his stats suggest. But then, bro literally brushes off the absolute devastation as a tiny paper cut. The sheer ego on this dude, blinding divine as he obnoxiously flexes his instant regeneration cheat code. But wait, suddenly, panic hits him. His one good eye goes completely bloodshot. That toxic, abyssal energy violently starts corroding right through his impenetrable holy armor. And his overpowered instant healing factor? Yeah, it just suffered a total system failure. With that soul-scorching hex absolutely shredding his insides, the grim reality finally clicks for this guy. That strike packed one hell of a toxic aftershock, and the sheer agony forces our headless wonder to slam down onto a single knee. Yan Yang Gong coldly stares down at him, roasting the guy for kneeling twice in one day. He straight up mocks him for having weak joints. So much for knightly pride. Argus instantly starts groveling for his life, swearing he will do literally anything to survive. Talk about a massive reality check. But our MC is completely unfazed. He coldly interrupts the begging, mentioning he forgot to finish his little bedtime story. While the knight panics in total confusion, we dive back into the flashback. It reveals his former teammate getting completely blacklisted, shut out from every single guild, while the whole town just whispered behind his back. They blamed him for ticking off the elite Jew family, and that heavy injustice pushed his bro into a pitch-black depression. Yan Yang Gong and the squad scraped together every penny they had to bail him out, but they busted into his apartment way too late. Snapping back to reality, he glares at Argus. Does this armored clown genuinely believe he would just let that slide? Grasping at straws, the knight throws out one final, pathetic plea. Yan Yang Gong casually agrees, and Argus breathes a sigh of relief, already scheming his sneaky counterattack. Big mistake. Our boy ruthlessly arcs his blade, cleanly lopping the guy's head off all over again. He smirks, clarifying the terms. Yeah, you can serve me, but you gotta be a corpse first. With the arrogant knight officially dusted, our MC bags a shiny level up alongside some seriously overpowered new. But something feels way off. He realizes his shadow minion did not siphon a single drop of XP back to him during the brawl. He telepathically barks at his loyal brawler, Bondi, demanding to know if he has been slacking on his babysitting duties. Sweating bullets, Bondi reports back that things are looking incredibly spicy. Cut to a terrifying three-way standoff inside a pitch-black, abandoned parking deck. The VIP he is supposed to be guarding? A pink-haired dude currently bleeding out across the concrete. And their opponent is none other than Netta Hu, an elite hitman. Bondi puffs out his chest, delivering this epic monologue about how the wounded guy behind him is under his master's ultimate protection. As the battered tank realizes Yan Yang Gong actually sent a bodyguard to save his life, he desperately tries to warn Bondi. We jump back exactly 1 hour to when our pink-haired bro got totally blindsided in his own living room. This Nedahu psycho casually grabbed him and launched him straight through a thick glass window, sending him plummeting down the side of the building. Despite having tank-level defenses, one single strike knocked his lights out completely. He woke up dumped in this creepy lot, with the hitman just chilling and waiting for him. Snapping back to the parking garage, Bondi decides enough is enough. He aggressively lunges forward, throwing a devastating hook aimed, but his jaw drops when he realizes this assassin moves even faster than his own master. Nedahu effortlessly evades the strike, teleporting into the air right above him. His hand starts glowing with lethal energy, ready to end this. Wanting to wrap this up, the hitman unleashes a violent tornado blast, launching his signature tower gale strike straight at Bondi's dome. Amazingly, the demonic servant just smoothly sidesteps the invisible shockwaves, dodging a razor-sharp gust aimed straight for his jugular. He sticks the landing perfectly, barely breaking a sweat against that. The assassin's eyes go wide in pure shock. He is totally rattled, wondering how on earth anyone could track his invisible wind blades. Bondi smirks and admits he actually cannot see a thing, but he can feel the heavy mana in the air, so his survival instincts just kick. After all, he trained under a totally ruthless master, surviving way too many of Yan Yang Gong's sneaky tunnel traps. Brushing it off as pure dumb luck, Nedahu scoffs and aggressively charges in. Not backing down, Bondi counters with a monstrous roundhouse kick that literally shatters the insane shockwave sends the hitman skidding backward, giving Bondi the perfect opening to blitz forward and crank up the pressure. But their next brutal clash sends Bondi violently launching up into the air, spinning completely out of control toward the metal ceiling beams. In a flash, Nedahu positions himself directly underneath, locked and loaded, to slice him to ribbons. The millisecond mid-air panic sets in. Bondi realizes he is casting way too slow, and his master's strict rule echoes in his head. Absolutely zero demon transformations outside of. Talk about incredibly garbage timing. The assassin's hand flares up, condensing a raging hurricane into a gigantic, razor-sharp wind guillotine. Totally helpless, Bondi watches in absolute horror as the lethal strike shrieks toward his body, and it makes direct contact. A massive spray of crimson and shattered debris fills the air. Bondi slams violently into the pavement, rapidly bleeding out from that devastating hit. He is mentally screaming at himself, disgusted that he failed to protect his master's closest ally. But right as Nedahu starts flexing about his multi-layered wind attacks, a glowing system alert suddenly pings. Yan Yang Gong just remotely dropped a twin summon skill on him. Totally clueless, the hitman flashes a wicked grin and steps up for the execution. So, gasping for his final breath, Bondi triggers the ultimate reverse summon, dragging his absolute demon of a master straight to the battle. Gasping out a final apology for dropping the ball, he gets absolutely swallowed alive by a surging wave of pitch-black energy. Nedahu is left standing there looking totally clueless. His prey literally ghosted him, vanishing without a single trace. Cut to the other side of the parking lot. A swirling rift snaps shut behind Yan Yang Gong, who is already posted up, shielding both dudes. The assassin is practically dripping cold sweat, completely mind-blown that his eye. Yan Yang Gong's very first move? Totally flaming his tank for catching such a brutal beatdown. Hey, you have got to keep your priorities straight. Wheezing for air, Dingfang barely manages to squeak out that he only survived because Bondi clutched up at the last sec. The gears finally turn in Nedahu's head. This new arrival is his secondary mark. Basically, DoorDash for the Grim Reaper. But our main character just hits him with the shush finger, straight up telling the hitman to keep his mouth shut. Talk about maximum disrespect. The Yan Yang Gong barks at Bondi to drag Dingfang out of the danger zone, swearing he will patch up their health bars once this mess wraps up. Stepping into the fight, his heavy footfall instantly triggers a massive web of Without even breaking a sweat, he casually crushes Nedahu's stealthy wind slash into a million pieces beneath his sneaker, brutally calling out his massive ego. Going absolutely feral, the killer throws a haymaker packed with everything he has got. But Yan Yanggong meets him halfway, his own knuckles sparking with sinister, slamming right into it. The impact explodes with enough raw kinetic energy to permanently reconstruct somebody's facial structure, launching Neda Hu spiraling backward through the air like a discarded toy. He completely obliterates the far wall with a sickening, rib-cracking crunch. Slumped on a single knee, the supposed deadly hitman is already looking insanely rough, violently hacking up mouth and frantically trying to process what kind of freakish monster just leapt. Scrambling through his mental database, he panics upon realizing this terrifying kid is nowhere to be found on his guild's intel files. Realizing the massive skill gap, the hitman flips the switch to try-hard mode. But plot twist, Yan Yanggong is already right up in his grill, bridging the gap with a lethal roundhouse. Neda Hu is totally stunned by the god-tier speed, but hey, it turns out he was actually baiting him this whole time. Big brain play right there. Out of absolutely nowhere, blindingly bright spell circles detonate straight out of the asphalt beneath their shoes, immediately bombarding Yan Yanggong with hyper-focused lasers of backing up to a safe range. Neda Hu starts fiercely flexing, fully convinced he just secured the checkmate. He even has the audacity to about how combat requires actual brain power, not just brute strength. But his cocky veteran rant violently screeches to a halt in sheer panic, because an aggressively bright, golden aura forcefully obliterates the trap from within. Yan Yanggong is just chilling there, utterly unbothered, coated in a blindingly radiant force field. The killer is completely shook, literally second-guessing if he accidentally picked a fight with a legendary paladin. Our boy smoothly hits him with the ultimate trash talk, calling him a massive letdown, and claiming his grandmother packs a heavier punch. Emotional damage! Whatever swagger Neda Hu had left instantly poofs out of existence, swapped out for ice-cold, unfiltered dread. Yan Yanggong savagely admits this guy is way too pathetic to even waste, telling him to pass a deadly warning back to his entire organization. The hitman is just standing there boiling with rage, totally short-circuiting, and his fingers are physically quivering from the intense humiliation, while our dude just casually stands his ground. Neda Hu officially loses his marbles, screeching and goes completely all in, popping his ultimate ability, the blinding initial strike. A violently spinning hurricane of razor-sharp shockwave absolutely shreds the parking structure to pieces. Yet Yan Yanggong just shoots him a deadpan stare that screams, "Bro, you literally asked for this beatdown." The assassin's flashy light show just pathetically splatters against the golden barrier, doing zero damage, but launching a massive, blinding smokescreen of concrete dust into the air. As the thick haze fades, the ground looks like a literal war zone, but the target is completely untouched. Yan Yanggong coolly points out that his damage output is still way too trash to crack the armor, which forces a desperately sweating Neda Hu to whip out an insanely wicked, blood-red dagger as his ultimate Hail Mary. Yan Yanggong's gaze instantly zeroes in on the glowing new loot. Screaming at the top of his lungs, the hitman torpedoes forward to secure the critical stab. But our boy literally just raises a single palm, mocking the pathetic try, right as the glowing blade completely halts in midair, barely a hair away from his ribcage. This artifact was supposed to be his instant win button, a legendary fiend-slaying blade, literally hard-coded to delete protective barriers. Yan Yanggong just flashes a lethal smirk that practically screams, "Oh, is that a fact?" His golden force field begins to fracture, sure, but so does the so-called indestructible weapon, leaving Neda Hu's eyes bulging out of his skull in pure agony as his god-tier item literally disintegrates into useless ash right between his fingers. With his opponent's last hope turned to powder, Yan Yanggong seamlessly chains into a brutal boot straight to the jaw, rocketing the hitman violently up through the reinforced concrete ceiling of the garage. Neda Hu is wailing like a banshee, his brain completely melting over the fact that there was actually a second layer of shielding hiding underneath. Suddenly they are both just free-falling through the sky, which is definitely not where you want to be during a fistfight. So the panic-stricken killer instantly starts pleading for his life, desperately trying to use his Dark Guild's terrifying reputation as leverage, to which Yan Yanggong basically replies with zero hesitation. And that look of pure, unadulterated horror plastered across the assassin's face honestly says everything. His playbook is completely empty. Dark energy spirals around our guy's fist before he drops the hammer with one absolutely lethal strike. The impact launches Netahu across the entire map, crashing him into a faraway mountain so hard the whole peak shatters. Nothing remains but a colossal blast and a thick smoke cloud, leaving Pondi and Ding Feng staring at the distant wreckage in absolute awe. Pondi is literally sweating buckets, panicking as he realizes his boss just duplicated and leveled up his moves in real time. Ding Feng just shrugs it off as a max-level pro, griefing a noob. But his minion? He is absolutely living for this, flashing a wicked grin about the whole demon comeback era. Up in the rubble, Yan Yang Gong catches a system ping. Netahu is officially wiped from the server. Our guy even snatches up the dude's ashes to use for demon crafting, because yeah, that is totally a thing. Then it clicks. PKing other players is wildly more optimal than boring mob grinding. Locked onto this sinister new game plan, he targets a level 3 zone, cut to a savage blade strike ripping through the air. Some random masked dude is about to catch the worst L ever, and by that, I mean getting cleaved straight down the middle. Another player gets sent to the lobby, bagging the attacker a slick 50 EXP. This fresh menace, Zhu Yin, is straight up yawning because his victim dropped way too quick. Enter his older brother, dripping with top-tier sarcasm. Zhu Tong smirks, questioning why he is suddenly farming dungeon trash. He brutally roasts him for hiding his target's faces, joking that the kid might get night terrors. Zhu Yin claps back that it is 0% about fear. He just wants prime viewing access to their eyes, claiming the absolute peak dopamine hit is watching their lights go out. Total red flag energy. Skipping the chatter, he asks what his brother actually wants, and Zhu Tong is just here to deliver some fresh EXP. Knowing his twisted hobby, he tracked down a level 5 player for a massive payout. The mark is chilling in a low-key apartment complex, which happens to be where Yan Yang Gong is kicking back while Ding Feng grinds out a heavy gym session. Benching a solid 50-kilogram weight directly over his face, Ding Feng asks why our main guy is barely touching his daily quests. He has been rotting in his room for days, completely off-brand, but Yan Yang Gong drops the ultimate flex. He literally automated his grind by putting his summons on the payroll. Deep inside a level 6 raid, his demon squad is putting in the sweat equity. Pondi is absolutely thriving as the shift supervisor, perched on a boulder, fully embracing the toxic boss role and screaming at the crew to pick up the pace. Meanwhile, the actual grunts are down in the trenches doing all the heavy lifting. A suited-up demon roasts him for just camping and barking commands, prompting the heavily plated Argus to instantly press the rookie for talking out of turn. Pondi instantly drops the veteran card, claiming alpha status just because his hire date is the oldest. This completely triggers the massive insect demon, who lunges at the loudmouth to violently hash out their HR problem. Pondi flips the script and pitches a hardcore wager. A pure speedrun to see who can funnel the most XP to the boss. Perfect timing, as a tidal wave of purple imps floods the zone, begging to get wrecked. Pondi wastes 0 seconds, blasting a colossal fire breath straight into the swarm. His HUD instantly explodes with endless plus 15 EXP pop-ups. The Hellfire straight up deletes the pack, leaving behind scorched bones that immediately turn to ash. He is feeling incredibly hyped about his massive stats upgrade, until a stray imp dodges the carnage for a cheap shot, while a second one tries to jump him from the blind side with a club. The dapper demon just laughs, flaming him for hyper-focusing on the kill feed instead of checking his 6. While another imp dive bombs them, the rival critiques how those flashy ults absolutely tank his mana bar. Then, with he proves he also packs heavy splash damage, firing a crisp laser that bisects a target instantly. The suited guy's area attack straight up mows down the surviving mobs, unleashing his phantom strike, grounded slash. Flexing a toxic smirk, his cyclone of cuts completely deletes the horde on the spot. He instantly trash talks Pondi, asking how his damage output stacks up against that cheap flamethrower. Refusing to take the L, the tanky knight Argus crashes the party, dropping maximum sarcasm to thank the dude for dragging the mobs into a perfect cluster. The suited guy loses his mind, raging about the unwritten rules of kill stealing, but Argus ignores him, summoning a towering pillar of divine flames straight from the sky, and his holy flash utterly melts the next spawn wave. Back in the real world, Yan Yang Gong is just casually touching grass. Watching that sweet XP roll in, he smirks. His summoned squad is out there grinding hard, and he is totally here for their ruthless energy. Suddenly, a shout grabs his attention. A swirling portal tears open against a jagged rock, and our guy pivots to check out the commotion. Standing right there is Dove, a level 5 dwarven brawler who looks ready to throw hands. His new buddy leans in, whispering a quick warning. Apparently, boom! Dove, flexing some insane superhuman hearing, aggressively slams his massive hammer into the dirt, absolutely offended. He barks back, claiming that while greed is a total flex, loyalty hits way harder. Jumping in, his buddy swears to Yan Yang Gong that these are solid. Our main guy goes along with it, but drops a reality check. They are still lacking 2 players for this 5-man raid. Smirking like he knows a secret, his bro just points upward. Slowly, a towering, deeply embarrassed girl peeks out from behind a massive boulder. Say hello to Eileen, a level 5 giant sniper, and yeah, she is an absolute unit. Instantly freezing up, she awkwardly ducks back behind her personal rock formation, while his friend completely brushes off the awkwardness, explaining she is actually insanely shy. Moving on, Yan Yang Gong demands to know who is taking the 5th slot. Right on cue, a stranger's voice echoes out, dropping the lamest excuse ever about being stuck in traffic. The squad turns to see who finally dragged themselves over. And, plot twist, it is Ju Yin, that unhinged, literal serial killer from their previous encounter. In his own head, this psycho is already mocking these rookies for being clueless. The absolute irony. The shady friend immediately covers for him, spitting some fake sob story about a glowing recommendation. But Yan Yang Gong is not buying a single word. Every survival instinct in his body is screaming that this dude is a massive red flag. Ju Yin is radiating the most sinister, nightmare-inducing aura ever. With their sketchy 5-man roster locked in, they gather outside the menacing level 6 enchanted woods and step right up to the rift. But boom, the vibe shifts. We rewind 2 hours back to the apartment, where Yan Yang Gong was stressing hard, paranoid that a rival guild would snipe their dungeon run. He ordered his bro to drop the coordinates, while he assembled a strike team. But watch this. That exact same friend steps out the front door, and instead of a boring hallway, he walks straight into a chilling, purple. He is instantly surrounded by a heavily armed hit squad. Yup, this whole raid? A complete, orchestrated setup. The traitor's sidekick starts low-key panicking, but the backstabber coldly snaps at him to lock in and stop shaking. Trying to chill him out, someone shoves a massive candy block on a stick right into his face. It is Eileen, proudly offering up her so-called magical, anti-anxiety jawbreaker. The nervous dude stares at it, muttering that her snack could literally crack a skull, which, honestly, is a completely valid point. Back in the present, Yan Yang Gong squints. His spider sense is absolutely buzzing. He abruptly halts the march, realizing they just got ghosted by their dwarf, Dove. Meanwhile, Dove is basically ascending. He stumbled into a colossal cavern, stuffed with azure magic crystals. Already mentally calculating his millions, he zeroes and violently swings his pickaxe into the crystal clusters. Pushing deeper, his eyes go wide at the jackpot. The raw, unfiltered greed is suffocating. This massive underground dome is literally sparkling with endless riches. Scrambling up a rocky shelf for a panoramic view, he spots the ultimate drop, a massive, pulsating vein of ultra-rare golden minerals. His jaw unhinges. This dude just uncovered the holy grail of loot. Screeching that he owns it all, he launches himself off the cliff like an absolute lunatic to grab his prize. He winds up for that epic, life-changing strike. Bam! The pickaxe violently recoils with a deafening metallic without even leaving a single microscopic dent. Out of nowhere, the solid rock beneath his boots ignites with a violent cut back to the squad. The traitor coolly shrugs, claiming dwarves are just biologically hardwired to wander off into random mines. A sudden, terrifying rumble makes Yan Yang Gong snap to attention. His jittery teammate frantically points toward the cliffside. It is Dove. He is sprinting for his actual life, absolutely shrieking in terror. Hot on his heels is a vicious pack of miniature stone golems, and the traitor snorts, ruthlessly roasting the dwarf for fleeing from trash mobs. But plot twist, Dove is not running from the little guys. He is fleeing from the absolute nightmare looming behind them. A level 7 rare boss rips through the shadows, a towering, mournful wraith that eclipses the sky. Instantly, that cocky ambush crew realizes they are completely cooked. The backstabber is fuming. This idiot dwarf just aggroed a massive boss, and he quickly does the math and realizes staying alive is way better than chasing clout. Right at that exact second, the cavern opening flares up with some incredibly toxic energy, and boom, a catastrophic shockwave violently blasts out from the depths of the mine. The explosion tears a massive crater into the earth, throwing the entire squad. One of the shady conspirators gets violently launched straight through the air, dropping in right at the boss's toes. Talk about flawless timing. The colossal phantom unhinges its jaw, pooling a toxic green aura before spewing a catastrophic laser of pure malice. A gargantuan shockwave floods the entire arena, but right before impact, Yan Yang Gong anchors himself to the dirt. The squad is absolutely losing it, knowing this nuke is completely unavoidable. Our guy deploys a radiant barrier, barking at the crew to take cover behind his back. His sacred aegis actually withstands the Phantom's apocalyptic beam, shielding the entire squad from instant deletion. Yet the venomous laser relentlessly pounds against his glowing defense. The energy dome fractures and hisses under the immense pressure, while the acidic payload literally liquefies the bedrock beneath their boots. With an ear-piercing crack, the barricade shatters entirely, rewarding one of the backstabber's goons with a face-melting splash of toxic sludge. Yan Yang Gong realizes his armor is straight-up paper against a level 7 Titan, leaving the whole team sitting ducks. So he instantly pivots, triggering a rapid swap summoning technique. Pitch-black vortexes explode from his palm, totally blindsiding both the snake and Dove. And who emerges from the shadows but Rark, the mammoth insect fiend from their grinding session? Dove is literally glitching out. A rookie-tier fighter, conjuring an actual demon, is basically on. Without hesitating for a second, Yan Yang Gong commands his beast to carve out a getaway route, and Rark violently plows into the soil, excavating a massive crater. While the crew frantically dives into the pit, they question his endgame. But he simply shoos them away, ordering them to hustle while he tanks the front line. They anxiously slide down the shaft, praying he is right on their heels, until Eileen bluntly drops the bomb that he is staying put. He is holding the line to absorb the venom. That absolute snake just brushes off Dove's panic, swearing our guy is on the verge of leveling up. Honestly, that is a super shady thing to say. Meanwhile, up top, the weeping phantom towers over the abandoned arena. The backstabber spectates from the sidelines, having totally ditched the entire squad. And he is already hyping himself up for chickening out. What an absolute legend. At the same time, the crying phantom pools together another sphere of absolute annihilation, its radiant toxic tears guaranteeing a seriously terrible fate for anyone caught in the crossfire. The catastrophic laser obliterates Yan Yang Gong's exact coordinates, yet the rat is completely paralyzed watching. Our boy effortlessly eat the damage. The dude's brain literally blue screens, trying to compute how he survived that nuke. Turns out, Yan Yang Gong scored a clutch promotion to level 6, which evolved his fiery barrier into a permanent, mana-leeching inferno suit. From his pathetic little sniper nest, the rat is utterly speechless, throwing a massive tantrum over this game-breaking power spike. However, a quick rewind to 5 minutes prior exposes the ultimate cheat code, his loyal summons, who have been grinding their hearts out in a totally different domain. They have been butchering an endless horde of monsters, solely to pipeline all that sweet experience straight to their master. And one of the fiends even mentions that Rark just got yanked to the surface for a quick gig. Another minion is literally buzzing with hype, praying he gets tagged into the arena next. Snapping back to reality, Yan Yang Gong glares up at the colossal titan, gearing up for round 2, watching the behemoth prep a classic, bone-crushing stomp. Its gigantic heel plummets with enough momentum to rupture the very earth. But our guy is already playing chess. Realizing bulky giants suffer from massive lag, he dashes straight beneath the impact zone, leveraging the monster's own limb as a shield, which totally throws the gargantuan phantom off its center of gravity. And it violently collapses into the dirt with a seismic boom. With a slick flick of his wrist, Yan Yang Gong materializes fresh gear, an absurdly gigantic golden broadsword, because obviously he is rocking the heavy artillery. He then catapults himself skyward, locked in and ready to deliver absolute carnage, crashing down like a blazing comet directly onto the Titan's skull. The sheer force cleaves its rocky cranium wide open. You know that did massive damage. Completely stunned, the phantom just slumps there, probably trying to reboot its brain, gripping its fractured face while staggering from that divine punishment. Yet Yan Yang Gong is already revving up his next strike, turning himself into a lethal human buzzsaw. And this round, he is gunning right for the optic nerve. He detonates a sacred flash burst at absolute max capacity, just to seal the deal, drowning the entire zone in a towering inferno of righteous flames. Hiding up in the nosebleeds, the merchants watch the monster get totally nuked. The lead hustler just smirks, bragging that our boy pulls off this kind of god-tier carry in his pure cap. Down in the crater, Yan Yang Gong scans the wreckage. His gut screams that something is severely off, because taking down an over-leveled elite beast absolutely shouldn't feel this pathetic. Out of nowhere, neon green smog starts bubbling through the scorched earth, as the beast's mangled corpse melts down into a blinding swarm of those sparks violently vortex together, because, plot twist, this ugly freak is far from dead. It detonates into a tidal wave of flesh-melting acid. Yan Yang Gong tanks the blast head-on, his mana pool already crying out for mercy. The entire zone gets blanketed in radioactive death fog. Our main character gets ragdolled backward, digging his heels into the dirt just to survive the kinetic recoil. His energy tank is flashing red, that overpowered fire aura about to shatter. The whole arena is now choking under a claustrophobic venom cloud. Chilling in the VIP section, the merchant mansplains that the monster's blood is flash boiling. Just a spicy new environmental hazard. Meanwhile, his sidekick is physically hyperventilating. The hustler clicks that they just triggered Phase 2. He is scratching his head, wondering why our MC isn't just spamming his army to jump this thing. Deep in the smog, Yan Yang Gong is aggressively playing for time, banking on his summons to farm experience points in the background. He ghosts through the haze, prowling for the elusive enemy. His vision snaps to a shadow. Target acquired. He instantly blitzes forward, palming a massive sphere of magma. He violently yeets the inferno straight into the blind spot, using it as a lethal flare. The payload detonates in a blinding crimson flash, meant to smoke out the rat, but a spectral claw just effortlessly bats the explosion aside. Yan Yang Gong's stomach drops. He fell for the bait. The genuine boss pixelates into existence dead behind him. Textbook jump scare. It violently palms his face, trying to leech his barrier away. But our guy, he just smirks at the audacity. Letting out a savage battle cry, he craters his fist straight into the bedrock, triggering an explosive countermeasure. The phantom sockets ignite with toxic neon, absolutely refusing to fold. So Yan Yang Gong heaves his colossal golden blade upward, perfectly deflecting a lethal swipe from the beast's cracked-out, high-speed second form. Back in the peanut gallery, the panicked sidekick stammers that the death smog is finally lifting. And guess who randomly spawns? Their missing buddy, Yan King, casually waving like nothing went down. He drops a wildly suspicious excuse that Dove and Eileen went backtracking for loot. Cut to the exact cavern in question. Dove is absolutely vibing. He is aggressively stuffing neon blue gems into his pockets, maniacally giggling about early retirement. A true finance bro in his element. Suddenly, a heavy boot violently stomps the exact rock he was targeting. It is Eileen, casting a terrifying shadow, radiating pure, final boss mom energy. She looks absolutely traumatized, screaming at him to actually look at what he is holding. The dwarf just blinks, totally blind to the nightmare. Then, the horrific truth violently updates in his brain. This isn't a treasure vault. It is a colossal, cursed, mass grave. The short king goes into full meltdown mode, wailing about stumbling into the necropolis of the ancient hoarder lord. His bulging loot sack tears open, vomiting out rotting skulls and shattered ribs. He instantly drops to his knees in the middle of a literal ossuary, his hustle culture dreams completely pulverized. The tragic dude finally clicks that a mind hex scrambled his brain the millisecond they entered. Eileen demands to know why her mind stayed bulletproof. And bro is drawing a massive blank. His only brilliant theory? He is vertically challenged, so the toxic gas hit him harder. Absolute peak science right there. Meanwhile, topside, the anxious sidekick volunteers to go wrangle the cave crew. But Yang King is giving him zero feedback. He reaches out to tap his shoulder, and his fingers just literally glitch straight through the guy's torso. A literal hologram. A split second later, he glances down. There is a blood-soaked fist erupting directly out of his own ribcage. His central nervous system just utterly crashes from the sheer trauma. Through fading vision, he spots the actual Yang King crumpled in the dirt way off in the background, knocked out cold in a ditch. The dying sidekick abruptly realizes his own arm has been surgically amputated. He desperately tries to piece together who blitzed him, but before his brain can process the math, his head gets cleanly swiped off his shoulders. Enter our newest villain, a demonic waifu, looking violently smug about her stealth. The whole map is basically a graveyard of wiped NPCs right now. Her glowing eyes lock onto Yan Yang Gong's dark energy. She is heavily intrigued, silently stalking toward our boy to run some tests, which is universally a massive red flag. Out of absolutely nowhere, a colossal steel mallet comes rocketing toward her skull. She doesn't even flinch, just casually backhanding the massive weapon. The heavy steel literally vaporizes into shrapnel on impact, not even phasing her. And guess who tossed that projectile? One of Yan Yang Gong's loyal familiars. Finally crashing the lobby, the summon stares down at the decapitated merchant's corpse, probably thinking, well, boom, one headache handled. He clicks the pieces together. The merchants were not betraying each other. They were totally hallucinating from toxic gas, throwing hands with their own Still, he is fuming that he showed up too late to save them. Meanwhile, this demon chick is standing there completely mind-blown. Like, how on earth is this dwarf not out of his mind on her venom right now? Out of nowhere, whoosh, a spear shaves past her ear, cratering the dirt. Someone is launching heavy artillery from the back line. She instantly bets it is that towering hunter trying to play stealth mode. Dead wrong. It is the dwarf minion crashing the party from above, bringing his warhammer down with absolute nuclear force. But she catches it like it is absolutely nothing. She straight up roasts him for basically offering himself up as a free kill when he is literally 2 levels below her. She is more than happy to pack him up right here, and you can see the absolute panic plastered all over his face. She blasts a wave of toxic green decay straight at his chest, but simultaneously, another javelin cuts through the sky. Seeing it aimed at her legs, she just scoffs. Another pathetic ambush, right? Except, the dwarf did not drop. His hands clamp around her ankle like a literal vice. You can literally see her brain crashing. How is this dude even conscious right now? Spitting blood, he growls that she is not going anywhere, just eating the damage raw. Panic sets in as she realizes she is completely shink. The spear buries itself dead center in her chest. Turns out, my guy popped his racial ability, Stone Skin, perfectly tanking the blast just to guarantee this hit. Basically, this Stone Skin buff is a free, 0-mana cheat code that makes you literally unkillable for 5 seconds. The impact absolutely obliterates her head, while the dwarf finally collapses into the dirt. But wait, she is not dead. Her headless body just grips the shaft. Sickly green aura flares up as she rips it out. Her entire face just respawns from black smoke, right as she uses a corrosive hex to literally dissolve the wood inside her ribs. Hiding in the brush, Eileen is fully traumatized. Their ultimate wombo combo literally left 0 scratches. Dove is losing her absolute mind right next to her, screeching that this boss is practically glitching with God mode. The demon just flashes a wicked smirk, trash-talking these low-tier fodder for even trying to step up. Then, she charges up a tsunami of melting acid to wipe the server. Eileen shrieks Dove's name, watching sheer death barrel straight toward their spot. But the demon chick has wall hacks on their hiding spot, spinning up a vile, glowing venom laser with Eileen's name written all over it. This neon beam of doom slices through the canopy and catches Eileen dead on, launching her out of the foliage like a rag doll. With the annoying sidekicks benched, she pivots to finally dissect Yan Yang Gong. Wait, where the heck is the dwarf? There is nothing but a crimson puddle left in the dirt. Suddenly, it clicks. Yan Yang Gong pulled a vanishing act too. Tracking a super obvious blood trail, she sweeps the dead quiet zone. The drops lead straight into the timber, where someone is trying to ghost her. It is our boy Yan Yang Gong, hard carrying his battered minion on his back. Total main character rescue moment, but her radar already locked. Taunting that there is no log out button here, she snipes another toxic ray, fully committed to securing the double kill. Bam! The beam crashes directly into Yan Yang Gong's spine as he curls up to shield his buddy. But instead of screaming in agony, his eyes literally light up. He is downloading her attack data. The entire grid detonates into a massive geyser of burning green acid. She actually sighs, faking sympathy for melting such a rare specimen. Total waste of not even close. A shadow steps right through the fallout because our guy just reverse-engineered her entire kit. Yan Yang Gong is chilling in the smoke, totally unfazed. And wait, bro literally just leveled up mid-fight. The demon chick completely loses her grip on reality, raging over where the heck he is secretly farming all this XP. Smash cut to a totally different dungeon, where one of his absolute unit summons just flatlined a raid boss. The minion proudly beams that the mission is cleared. Spoon-feeding his snapping back to the war zone, Yan Yang Gong casually drops the lore. There was 0 actual beef between those merchants. Because this entire dungeon is basically a hotbox of mind-bending neurotoxins. Smirking, he ignites a brand new aura in his hand. A crazy swirling pink flare. He flexes that his flames can now literally set airborne toxins on fire, a brand new perk he just copped. So when her next desperate barrage comes screaming in, he does not even flinch. The venom payload hits the dirt and violently combusts, turning the very oxygen around them into a volatile minefield. Now she is sweating bullets, completely tilting as she panic spams venom projectiles in every direction. But our MC? He just effortlessly dash dances through the storm of toxic shrapnel, like an absolute tryhard, charging up a glowing golden strike. Hitting her with that Uno reverse energy, he brutally punts her straight into her own chain react. Emerald energy literally sews her flesh back together in seconds, leaving Yan Yang Gong completely shook. Turns out she is rocking some insane self-healing magic, but she is absolutely raging right now because this is going to leave a scar and totally ruin her summer beach aesthetic. Our guy is not having it. He whips up a massive swirling orb of crimson energy and just straight up chunks it into her toxic blast, triggering an absolute nuclear explosion. She bursts out laughing, mocking him about how his fire is basically weaponizing her venom into an even deadlier vapor. But Yan Yang Gong, he hits her with a cold, "Oh, really?" before literally shoving his ultra-rare time ignition flame right down her throat. Her face instantly drops as she realizes she completely messed up, right as the entire battlefield gets swallowed by a blinding, neon pink inferno. Once the heavy smoke finally dissipates, our boy is the only one left on his feet. He effortlessly bags another 400 experience points like it is nothing. Meanwhile, down in the smoking crater, our demon villainess is looking absolutely busted. She is totally convinced she just pulled off the ultimate fake-out with that same old trick, scheming to just dip out now and assassinate his squad later. Peak villain behavior, but before she can even finish her internal monologue, a blinding blue laser beams right past her cheek. instantly followed by a savage drop attack from the sky. She starts panicking, convinced a secret sixth player just entered the chat. But then a cold hand snatches her from behind, completely shattering her reality, as she realizes there is an actual seventh attacker. It turns out one of his colossal shadow familiars has her totally locked down. She is absolutely tweaking right now, shrieking at the top of her lungs about where this entire army is spawning. Out of nowhere, another minion crashes down with a devastating, blood-red slash that literally launches the demon girl halfway across the arena. Her brain is basically short-circuiting. An eighth combatant just pulled up, and this one is a straight-up giant beast. And it is unhinging its jaw, fully prepped, cut to a totally different dungeon, where one of his shadows is just absolutely destroying this giant insect, clocking it straight in the jaw with a vicious, demonic right hook. Why? Because this brainless bug somehow swallowed the exact target they were ordered to capture alive. After a brutal beatdown to send a message, the insect starts violently throwing up, and our boy senses that the target is somehow still breathing inside that mess. His entire squad of shadows is having a full-blown meltdown over this massive fail, but the second their Dark Lord touches down, everyone snaps instantly to attention. The target finally gets puked out. It is another demon girl, and she is throwing a tantrum, swearing she would literally rather perish than bow to a human. So, our guy just casually he hits her with a deadpan, "Bet, rest in peace then." She closes her eyes, totally bracing herself for a tragic right up until this warm, golden aura suddenly wraps around her, leaving her looking insane. Meanwhile, the veteran minions are out here welcoming the new trash to their ranks. Honestly, 5-star toxic workplace culture. Boom, instant conversion. Gazing up at her brand new boss with sparkling eyes, she immediately drops to her knees, looking completely submissive at the feet of the necromancer. This entire chaotic side quest scores him a sweet level up, officially unlocking a terrifying nightmare transformation and brand new toxic buffs. The system drops a massive loot pile too, featuring an ultra-rare venom tier orb for crafting. Over in the corner, one of his goons is just straight up completely obsessed with the massive stat boost, echoing from their master. But the hype gets cut short when Eileen suddenly sprints in, desperately carrying their half-dead dwarf teammate. She is hyperventilating, totally terrified, because both of her homies are literally clinging to life at 0-8. Stepping right up to the makeshift hospital zone, our boy tells her to chill and promises he will handle the medical emergency. But one of his elite Shadow Knights intercepts, insisting that a loyal subordinate like him should do the dirty work. He immediately channels this massive, blinding wave of golden restoration, sweeping across the floor, rapidly closing up the adventurer's lethal wounds. Still, they are missing just a tiny bit of experience to trigger a full health level up. Right in the middle of this, somebody notices that the rock golems from the boss room have literally despawned into thin air. Seeing her window, the freshly brainwashed demon girl instantly plays her cards, offering to guide the boss to a hidden underground vault. One of the OG shadows is already molding in the background, calling her a massive pick-me. The demonic office politics are literally starting on day one. Checking back on the injured, the restoration spell is slowly weaving their torn muscles back together. Our boy confirms they are out of the danger zone, but admits they are going to need a high-tier holy priest if they actually want those lost limbs. He orders Eileen to immediately evacuate them from the zone, swearing he will foot the entire hospital bill himself. To make sure they survive the trek, he assigns his brand new demon girl to play bodyguard for their squad. The rest of the Shadow Army gets instantly recalled into his inventory, leaving this one super enthusiastic demon alone on escort duty. Oh, and our guy finally realizes that the other cowardly adventurer completely rage quit and ran away. He does not even sweat it though, knowing his homies are protected by a literal level 7 monster. With the orders locked in, Eileen starts hiking out, lugging the unconscious dwarf, while the demon trails right behind. The dark familiar randomly asks why she wrapped the guy in a blanket, making Eileen blush super hard, because his armor completely dissolved off. Her demonic bodyguard is just intensely confused, coldly arguing that meat shields are still just meat shields, clothed or not. As soon as the party is out of sight, another shadow minion gets straight to business, opting to unlock a massive treasure chest by just boom! A wild new challenger crashes the party, serving absolute villain energy with those dead, glowing eyes. While Yen Yang Gong's lackey absolutely obliterates a loot chest, his fist gets instantly snatched by a glowing, magical chain. The entire floor shatters, wrapping him up like a pretzel. From the shadows, a rival adventurer steps up, mocking him, and asking if he's playing the same trap-making game. Poor Nedahu is left dangling from the ceiling like a cursed piñata, completely helpless, while his partner panics on the ground. Trying to pull a main character moment, she screams that she's coming to slice him free, but Nedahu is just shrieking at her to check her six. Total setup. She spins around way too late. A pitch-black shadow with blazing crimson eyes is already breathing down her neck, finally revealing our mastermind. It's a dude rocking a busted, unhinged grin that practically screams, "I skipped the dentist." High above, those glowing chains are working overtime, crushing the absolute life out of Nedahu as he thrashes against the high-voltage snare. Sparks are literally raining down. On the floor, the redhead is locked in a terrifying stare-down with this absolute weirdo. He flashes a wicked smirk, taunting that he's been dying for them to crash his little slaughter fest. Cut back to Yan Yang Gong. His chest is popped wide open, flexing a massive his brand new demon sidekick is totally hyping him up, practically drooling over the insane luck, and calling it a top-tier drop. But our boy is not popping champagne. His danger radar is screaming. Something is seriously off. The new girl tries to vibe check him, promising way better loot up ahead, and going full try-hard mode to win his He completely shuts her down. Nedahu's squad is getting jumped, and he immediately barks out a fresh set of commands. While she's just standing there processing, a tiny, squishy slime minion suddenly bounces right up to her boots. Whipping back to the ambush zone, the redhead is laid out and bleeding fast. Her partner, knee-deep in a pool of jet-black sludge, staring down the new boss. The demon minion fights frantically against the thick goo, the terrifying reality setting in. They were baited from the absolute beginning. Floating high and mighty, this hunter named Ju Yin totally flexes, bragging that his mana-infused tar is a permanent death sentence. He is a level 7 adventure hunter, already plotting to pack them up and farm their master for that sweet. The lackey is literally shaking with rage over the disrespect. But Ju Yin just rolls his eyes, convinced they're completely faking their stats. Our arrogant villain drops a whole lecture on the leveling system, acting all smug because he thinks he's outsmarted them. Suddenly, a colossal, suffocating demon aura flares up right behind him, growling, "What level does this freaking look like?" Even the trapped minion is totally mind-blown, realizing this dude really is rocking level 7 power. Ju Yin casually drops that he was already level 6 going into this raid. And he bagged way more than just the final boss experience points. Flashing the most punchable smirk ever, he asks where they think every single mob in this dungeon magically vanished to. Plot twist. He kited all the stone golems into a corner and wiped them out solo, greedily soaking up all the EXP for himself. The stuck lackey finally puts the pieces together, muttering into the void to ask if his master just caught that massive confession. Ju Yin just laughs in his face, promising to pass on his dying message as he closes in to finish the job. Out of nowhere, a raging crimson energy tether links the minion to a distant force. Boom! Yan Yang Gong materializes in a blinding flash of red magic, straight up confirming he heard every single word. The hunter's jaw hits the floor. A cracked skill that literally reverse summons the master. The tables have officially turned. The minion explodes forward, ready, but this hunter is sweating cheap tricks. He smacks the dirt hard, triggering a hidden failsafe. A gigantic rock pillar bursts through the floorboards. The minion hits the brakes hard, just as the hunter slams his palm down again, setting off yet another brutal trap. But he pulls off a flawless backflip right over the colossal stone spike tearing through the ground. Except, gravity kicks in, and the mass dead center, directly on top of Yen Yang Gong. It body slams him deep into a crater, locking him tight inside an impenetrable rock cell. The thing is straight up a stone coffin named Trap Lover's Embrace. Yeah, super subtle, bro. Our hunter instantly launches into his cheesy villain monologue. He admits the reverse summon threw him off, but flexes that he was ready regardless. bragging that this custom tomb was right on cue. The interior of the coffin violently erupts into a literal meat grinder of razor-sharp spikes. Now he's just chilling, waiting for that golden pop-up. But the sweat starts dripping when he realizes his target might actually be tanking it inside. Then, an insanely dark, blood-red aura starts violently pulsing from inside the tomb. Boom! The entire trap gets absolutely nuked into dust. And tearing through the thick black smoke, a colossal fiery demonic claw rips out of the crater. The lackey double-checks if the dude actually bit the dust, hyping himself up for tagging his boss in right at the buzzer. But hold up, Yan Yang Gong gets 0 XP pop-ups. Miles away, the actual Juyan is already booking it like his life depends on it. Bro is crouching in a camo trap, feeling way too cocky because he rigged the entire getaway route with a tough break though. One of Yan Yang Gong's hellhounds is already tracking his scent like a heat-seeking missile. Look at that face. Pure panic when your big brain escape plan crumbles to dust. He frantically tries to shush the nightmare mutt. A literal negative IQ move. The beast just towers over him, straight up roasting the guy for picking such a garbage hiding spot. Out of nowhere, the hound blasts a blinding ruby laser right at his face, absolutely vaporizing the dirt, where he was shivering, launching the hunter into the sky, while his flawless getaway turns into literal ash. Mid-air, this guy is still yapping, salty that he burned a decoy on the big dude, until creepy shadow vines snatch him right out of the sky. Boom! A gigantic crystal spike violently erupts from the ground, dripping with the exact same sticky goo he was just flexing about. The entire zone instantly shatters into a deadly forest of jagged pillars, basically transforming his slick escape route into a lethal obstacle course. Juyan is absolutely shook. That demon dog just set off every single trap he planted with one massive AoE nuke. His expression screams pure dread. 0 tricks left, 0 backup plans. He spins around to bolt, but an icy voice whispers that his time is officially up. Enter the brand new Demon Queen, literally glowing with that freshly minted toxic buff. She unleashes a tidal wave of lethal green energy straight at his dome, fully swallowing the hunter in a blinding poison explosion. Ding! Yan Yang Gong finally sees the XP drop, raising an eyebrow to ask if this elimination is legit this time around. His newest lackey Pinky swears she would never cross him. Her villain era is fully locked in. Now the boss declares it is time to wrap up loose ends with their target, who turns out to be Juyan himself, fresh out the oven as a level 7 demon. The veteran minions are already roasting the rookie, forcing him to call them Big Bro. Welcome to the dark side, buddy. Now rolling with a fully stacked demon squad, Yan Yang order number 1, deploying a minion to babysit Eileen and her squad, then immediately go full stealth mode. 3 more goons get tossed into the ultimate XP grind fest. Forget the loot, just max out those stats. And as for the fresh meat, who looks like he is sweating through a lethal job interview, the boss commands him and Netahu to stage their own demises and sneak back into their guilds as double agents. Juyan is practically drooling, hyping up the strategy like an absolute fanboy. The Glazer energy is off the charts with this dude. Cut to somewhere else, where another squad is getting utterly clapped by an absolute unit of a mammoth boss. High up on a cliff, a solo lurker casually spectates the chaos. Turns out, this shadow stalker is Ju Zai, a level 10 lizardman guildmaster. In the pit below, the giant hoof of the beast is milliseconds away from turning a rogue into pavement paste. But her main tank dives in, holding the line and screaming for a medic. So, the healer barks at him to pop his ultimate block while she channels her magic. He triggers his impenetrable barrier, summoning a gigantic, glowing blue force field, flexing that he can easily tank this for 10 seconds, since he once stalled a boss for 60. Then, boom, the beast's tusk shatters his ultimate defense in 0.5 seconds, blasting the warrior into orbit and instantly humbling his trash talk. The monster's strike literally bulldozes a massive crater into the dirt, leaving his squad frozen in sheer terror. That was literally their trump card. Panic completely takes over, as the whole crew realizes they are 100% unavoidably cooked. Suddenly, the mammoth spots the cliffside lurker, and it is mad furious. But one of the doomed players points up, screaming that the big boss of the giant scorpion guild has arrived to carry them. Boom, enter Ju-Zai. Bro is literally striking a pose like he is auditioning for an Avengers movie. The dying adventurers are practically sobbing with joy, fully believing their literal savior just dropped in. With crazy hang time, he plunges right into the danger zone, connecting a heavy-duty punch directly into the beast's jaw. He literally screams out his ultimate move mid-flight. 0 stealth points. The sheer impact sends the colossal titan staggering backward, completely shaken to its core. He chains that into a rapid-fire storm of energy daggers, absolutely shredding the boss until its back violently detonates from the pressure. The helpless squad on the ground is just shell-shocked, whispering about his insane power scaling, prompting one guy to finally ask the real question. Terrified of getting caught in the crossfire, she panics, but her squad mate swears they are golden. "We are way out of the splash zone," he promises. Talk about famous last words. A blinding shockwave instantly deletes him from existence, proving his little theory fatally wrong. This leaves his partner shrieking in pure terror as that massive wall of annihilation barrels straight toward her face. Now she and the final survivor sprint frantically to outrun the expanding blast radius, but the earth literally splits open, swallowing him whole as a split second later, the rest of the crew is just gone, absolutely reduced to atoms. Where an epic battlefield stood just moments ago, nothing remains except a colossal, smoking sinkhole. A single charred scrap floating through the breeze is literally the only— And Ju-Zai? He casually stomps that final surviving fragment right into the dirt, and his right-hand man, Ju-Yin, strolls through the absolute wreckage left behind, realizing his boss is straight up more savage than he could ever be. Which really speaks volumes. The reptilian powerhouse suddenly materializes, snapping that he's going to crush him into mush just for trespassing. So, Ju-Yin instantly scrambles into damage control, spinning a wild PR excuse for the total wipeout. But the guild boss shuts that down real quick, barking at him to spill the actual reason he showed up. The operative flexes that he wrapped up an old loose end, but Ju-Zai brushes it off like dirt, telling him to bump it up to another supervisor. Right as he turns away, Ju-Yin drops a casual comment about crossing paths with the angel again, and boom, the lizard locks onto him with laser focus. Less than a heartbeat later, Ju-Yin gets completely obliterated for spilling tea, with his boss swearing to dice him up if he keeps yapping. Dropping that friendly little warning, Ju-Zai vanishes, leaving the dude planted inside a literal crater. Stuck at a mere level 7, Ju-Yin burns with rage, praying his true master levels up ASAP. Cut to the Angel Temple. Ju-Zai rolls up for an audience, bowing low before a knight dripped out in celestial armor, confirming a fresh elimination and pitching for his payout. But the Lord Angel is entirely unbothered, throwing shade about whether claiming an entire boss territory wasn't greedy enough. Ju-Zai jumps in to clarify that hitting past level 10 makes XP from low-tier enemies drop to 0. He basically starts pleading for a dungeon pass, throwing out every piece of dirty work he's pulled off over the years as leverage. And all that groveling? Rewarded with raw, unfiltered fury. The angel swings down a colossal blade of pure energy, just to check that sheer audacity. Suddenly, a thunderous voice echoes, "Stand down!" The heavy temple doors slam tight, and the massive blade halts literally millimeters from Ju-Zai's face, leaving him shaking in pure, cold terror. The celestial boss then drops a heavy lecture, reminding him how he literally bailed out his whole bloodline from getting wiped out, forcing Ju-Zai to just eat it and bow. With a fresh impact zone highlighting his close call with the Reaper, he stomps away, choking on absolute humiliation. The shockwave from that single slash ripped a massive trench straight, carving its way deep into the barren wasteland. Now that is one intense performance review. Realizing he's wildly outgunned here, Ju-Zai pivots, opting to scour the underground market for a pass. On the flip side, Yan Yang Gong spots a sketchy portal hidden deep inside an underpass, chilling right in front of a glitching gateway to the unknown. Some masked stranger slides out, pressing him on whether he's chasing a pass, too. The guy snaps at him to drop the small talk and just shadow his moves inside. It ends up that Zhu Yin threw his weight around to vouch for him, unlocking the doors to a crazy, expansive black market. His guide drops the absolute rules: 0 brawling, or a top-tier spellcaster will send you to the lobby. Yan Yang Gong is low-key impressed. They buried this entire operation inside a dungeon just to dodge the Angel's radar. This is the ultimate hub for premium drops. And since his handler knows he wants that dungeon pass, our guy smoothly produces a little incentive to grease the gears, casually sliding over a pure gold brick as a tip. He turns on the charm, framing it as a tiny sign of his gratitude. Dude is already playing the game like a pro. Now this guide is absolutely simping for him, hyping him up as a super sharp rookie, and instantly unlocking full VIP privileges for Yan Yang Gong. No sitting around in queues for this guy. They strut straight past a giant line of sweaty adventurers desperate for entry. Looks like everybody and their mother wants these passes, so the insider drops some meta-knowledge, breaking down the entire system. Dungeon passes only become a headache once you hit level 10. The bottom tier is the standard free-to-play starter zone, packed with joke-level slimes, while the advanced zones demand a pass to score slightly upgraded drops and face off against some super salty fish monsters. Then you hit Epic Tier, where the actual XP farming kicks off with a level 30 ceiling. Peaking at the top are the Legendary Realms, basically a meat grinder where even maxed-out veterans get sent packing. Yang Yang Gong instantly hunts for a glitch in the Matrix, questioning if these passes can scale past 40. And our genius connects the dots. If the passes can level up indefinitely, the ceiling doesn't exist. But the insider pops his bubble, pointing out that a level 41 pass is literally dead weight because that specific dungeon hasn't even dropped yet. Yan Yang Gong's expression screams it out. What a massively flawed mechanic. Hold up, he counters. What's the deal with that secret 5th tier you name-dropped? That's the Nightmare tier, and the guide's survival tip is crystal clear. Stay far away, because nobody ever respawns from there. The MC grabs the mic to hyping up the massive sea of players flooding the auction house, as a sharp-dressed host declares the bidding war for passes is officially live. Kicking things off is a level 10 advanced pass, launching at a base price of 50 grand. And some random player in the mob instantly throws down the opening cash. But someone else immediately flexes, countering with 70,000. Oh, it is about to get spicy. Then a wild card enters the chat. A chick who effortlessly drops 80 grand, and some dude in the audience instantly flags her as a total mystery, probably thanks to her sketchy, ominous vibe. Crimson energy crackles aggressively around her boots, sparking with raw. She whips that aura like a lasso, snatching her rival bidder and casually tossing him into the mob, like a literal rag doll. Spooked, the guy instantly taps out, whispering to his bro that the key's trash return on investment just is not worth the hassle. His boy absolutely flames him for acting tough as a measly level 7. Meanwhile, the prize gets sniped by a random player for a cool 120,000. Now the winner is the main character of the room, as thirsty adventurers instantly swarm him, already beefing over the potential drops. Drama over. The hype man at the podium pivots right into the heavy-hitter stash of elite keys. The veteran host is practically salivating over the incoming bag. Sweeping aside the starter pack garbage, he officially drops the curtain on the main event. Boom. A level 10 epic tier pass hits the block, starting at 200,000 flat. The entire room collectively gasps. That price tag is absolutely unhinged, but the god-tier loot waiting inside makes it insanely tempting. Reality check, though. Some dude whispers that a stacked squad just got sent. Suddenly, a hand rockets into the air, completely silencing the chatter with a jaw-dropping 500,000 flex. No surprise here, it is Juzai. The scaly guild boss is posted up, acting like he literally owns the establishment. The informant leans over to Yan Yang Gong, pointing out that surviving an epic dungeon demands exactly that kind of insane firepower. Rewind to a few hours ago. Ju Yin totally called this, warning our boy that the egomaniac reptile would definitely crash the event. The dude is so blind with pride, he would ignore his own squad. Hearing this, Yang Gong finally pieces together why the lizard is sweating so hard for experience points. And the guide spills the tea. Ju Zai just got utterly humiliated over at the Angel Temple. Cut back to present day. The boss slaps down 600,000, glaring holes into anyone thinking about stepping up. But his alpha moment absolutely crumbles. The exact millisecond someone calls his bluff. Enter a mysterious white-haired baddie, wearing a ridiculously smug smirk. She effortlessly drops a flat 1 million, and the entire auction house goes completely feral. Even our guy Yang Gong is sweating, realizing these numbers are. His wingman nods, whispering that blowing 1 million on a level 10 is just straight-up awful business. But wait, a wicked smirk slowly creeps onto our protagonist's face as he finally spots the hidden agenda. Our guy leaps up to hijack the auction, instantly spiking the pot to 1.5 million. The lizard boss practically foams at the mouth. Recognizing his archenemy, Ju Zai screeches in pure rage that it is her again. Meanwhile, the white-haired girl just shoots him a cheeky, teasing wink. She is absolutely thriving in this dumpster fire of drama. Desperate, the beast snarls out a 2 million bid. Without missing a beat, she effortlessly bumps it to 2.1 million without even blinking. The numbers ping-pong across the room, rocketing deeper into 7 figures in the blink of an eye. Boiling over, Ju Zai barks that she is just trolling him for fun, and then he completely loses his grip. He drops a nuclear 5 million bid, trying to obliterate her from the board for good. The audience is absolutely hype. Glazing the top-tier, cocky as ever, he dares her to top it, vowing to back down if she pushes. It is a textbook whale bluff, and she instantly calls it. She literally tells him to pull out, causing his fragile ego to completely blue screen. The scaly dude sits there buffering, trying to figure out how he just got so flawlessly clowned. And then the realization hits like a freight train. He got played like an absolute idiot. He goes full beast mode, screeching at the crowd to find out where she vanished to, fully intending to send her to the Shadow Realm for the massive disrespect, screaming that he will wipe her and her entire squad off the server, a totally stable reaction to catching a massive loss at an auction. Cut away. Yang Gong and his guide dip toward the exit. Calling the night a fat zero, the guide mumbles an apology. He swears he totally missed that plot twist. But Yang Gong stays completely chill. He brushes it off, saying sniping the Lizard King was basically impossible anyway. His new homie throws up a peace sign, vowing to drop an invite for the next major drop. The literal second they are alone, a dark crimson rift rips open beneath our guy's boots, and out struts the white-haired phantom. As Yang Gong props her up for utterly breaking the guild boss, she casually pouts, wishing they had actually finessed his bank account in the process. "Who goes there?" a random voice interrupts, freezing her dead in her tracks. Enter the auction host. The old man apparently has bat-level hearing and a serious addiction to dramatic pop-ins. Her eyes instantly glow with pure venom, ready to permanently silence him for sneaking up on their little operation. But the geezer's own eye flashes with an intense, overwhelming aura that stops her cold. He completely exposes her, calling her out as totally bound to the liege. She just nods in sheer disbelief. Yang Gong smirks, revealing he had the auctioneer pegged as a demon from day one. And this entire setup was a total masterclass in manipulation. The auctioneer slides over the payout from their massive hustle, a clean 4 million bucks after taking a cut. Yang Gong snatches the card, casually dropping that this is just the seed money for Phase 2. But his demonic sidekick states the obvious. They are completely locked out without a key. Right on cue, a quick $500,000 transfer lights up his screen, which he instantly drops to secure a key from an overly thankful assassin, calling him Big Boss. He casually flashes the shiny new loot, bragging about scoring it at a match. Turns out, the seller barely survived a total squad wipeout and just wanted to dump the cursed thing. But this entire flex gets totally eavesdropped on by Ju Zai, hiding out as a bite-sized spy lizard. His lackey hits him with the intel. The key unlocks a 5-player dungeon, and 3 slots are still wide open. Juzai does not hesitate, dragging 2 heavily armored meat shields to hijack the raid. One of these drafted knights is literally shaking, totally certain he is about to be cannon fodder for his boss's ego trip. But the second Juzai rushes the gate, a glowing purple force field violently blasts him backward. Access brutally denied. The scaled tyrant loses his mind, screeching about how a 5-man raid could possibly be maxed out with only a duo inside. Meanwhile, his 2 henchmen collapse to the dirt, silently praising the universe that they just dodged certain death. Swallowing the massive L, Juzai storms off to conquer his own dungeon, shoving the embarrassment down for later. Flipping back to our main squad, Yan Gong gives a massive shout-out to his fiendish crew for carrying the scam. Rocking his true identity as a level 10 demon lord, he swears to power carry the entire squad to the top, while one of the fiends hypes up his flawless disguise ability, totally masking his insane stats. Riding the high of a flawless victory, he cracks his knuckles, ready to drop some epic loot. He just bagged a busted new skill, letting his minions resurrect their very own undead legions. The fiendish crew absolutely loses it over this overpowered buff, but someone spots a glaring issue. Where in the world is Pondy? Turns out, the tiny menace already sprinted into the abyss to solo farm some monster mobs. Honestly, he has the ultimate strat because the meta just shifted. It is a total free-for-all now, forcing the rest of the squad to sprint after him so they do not miss out on the sweet loot. Outside the rift, Yan Gong catches an intel drop, confirming Juzai crawled into a different dungeon to nurse his bruised ego. So, his invisible scout is literally spawn camping the exit, waiting to jump them the second they clear it. Deep inside the cave, a demon scout spots the first wave of aggro, and it is a massive underground quarry, swarming with heavily mutated, rat-faced laborers. Yep, level 10 rat-head miners, and they are absolutely fuming about the trespassers. One spots the infiltrator instantly, shrieking an alarm that causes the entire sweaty workforce to abandon their picks and rush the tiny demon, who honestly could not care less. He straight up dares them to step up and meet their maker. But suddenly, a toxic green aura whips into a frenzy around him, detonating instantly in a blinding shockwave, shredding the cavern walls and trapping him inside a glowing emerald force field. And he is furious, realizing a teammate just tried to catch him in a carpet bombing, instantly locking eyes with the traitor, and dragging him for being too cheap to pop his own shields. They just got hit by collateral damage, and the shooter is literally one of their own guys, relentlessly spamming attacks into the crowd without a second thought. When called out for playing dirty, he just sneers, reminding them that playing fair is not exactly in the demonic handbook. With the drama squad, he hypes up the remaining crew to dive headfirst into the bloodbath. Meanwhile, Yan Gong is chilling in the back, soaking up all that sweet passive experience and vibing with his genius. Over in Juzai's run, the energy is way less epic and way more exterminator mode. His heavy knight is running on fumes, just squashing one giant roach, while his other lackey is already knocked out cold, getting roasted as useless trash by their fearless leader. Juzai goes full toxic manager, throwing a tantrum about how his squad is absolute dead weight without his majestic carry. After dropping that brutal reality check, he barks at them to brace for the boss raid. The final target? A colossal, three-eyed rat king, who clearly pulls the strings for this entire underground cartel. Flipping back to our MVP, the final boss is already flatlined, and his crew is feasting on the massive XP drop. Yan Gong skyrockets to level 11, fully realizing he can literally sleep his way to max level. It is the absolute dream. He casually roasts the boss's corpse for being way too squishy, just as a pitch-black vortex spirals out of the remains, ripping open a flashy new rift tailored perfectly for a level 11 player. Absolute god-tier dungeon run to cash out later. Strictly business, as he flexes toward the portal, hungry for the next raid. His demonic summons are already deep inside, viciously shredding through some fresh, chained-up monstrosity. And the level-up alerts just keep spamming his vision while his army ruthlessly bulldozes the zone. That brand-new necromancy perk is already clutching up, supercharging his undead squad. Sitting pretty at level 19, Yan Yang Gong literally laughs at the zero difficulty, straight up baiting the universe to send a real challenge. Cut to another dungeon, where Juzai's squad is catching a totally different vibe, specifically, getting completely folded. Their entire party is getting wiped out by a level 14 Minotaur boss. So Juzai is forced to tag himself in, triggering a raging assault. He winds up and connects a devastating haymaker, dead center on the beast's snout, instantly deleting the boss and fracturing the very earth beneath them. But he is still absolutely fuming, roasting his last two lackeys for being absolute dead weight. This so-called Lizard King just keeps spitting pure venom about their trash gameplay. 10 out of 10 leadership right there. Suddenly, one of the battered survivors stammers, trying to flag something creeping up behind him. Juzai whips around, incredibly salty about getting interrupted, exactly as a pitch-black, jagged portal slices through the air, and outstomps an impossibly massive, infinitely beefier level 22 Minotaur Overlord. His loyal knight completely loses his mind, because mob bosses aren't coded to teleport. Juzai, riding that massive ego trip, simply squares up for round 2, dropping an absolute nuke of a strike right onto the sheer kinetic impact detonates a wild shockwave, an insane flex of raw physical damage. But his jaw drops when the dust settles. Even with the level debuff, the monster hasn't even flinched, and our Lizard King suddenly clocks that he might be entirely cooked. The debris settles, revealing the horned giant completely untouched and itching for a slaughter. Flip over to a random forest toll booth, where a purple rift tears open near some random NPC, shaking down players for entry fees. Dream job, right? A pristine pair of sneakers steps out of the void, attached to a mysterious dude, radiating way too much chill energy for this chaotic reality. The extortionist instantly blocks his path, palm extended, demanding he hold up because apparently there is a mandatory dungeon tax to cross his turf. Our hooded hero could not care less, dryly asking which faction is trying to run his pockets. The gatekeeper puffs out his chest, repping the Jade Scorpion Guild, and flexing that his leader is inside grinding EXP. Unbothered, the hoodie wearer deadpans. And what if I just skip the fee? The grunt barks back that his captain will march out here and turn him into a literal pebble, which is definitely a new threat. But the newcomer just points at the sky, casually dropping, "Oh, you mean that guy?" The extortionist tilts his head back, only to witness his guildmaster getting violently ejected from the dungeon. Like a human meteor, the entire biome quakes from the explosive exit as that level 22 Minotaur comes hurtling out. Right on his tail, rocketing through the sky like a violently shredded ballistic missile. It touches down with enough momentum to nuke the surrounding terrain, leaving the petty taxman completely paralyzed by the horror. He immediately starts glitching out, shrieking that a raid boss broke containment and they are all toast, while a blaring system notification orders a mandatory zone-wide evacuation. The colossal beast glares down at its masterpiece, a brutally mangled and bleeding Juzai. It casually lifts a massive hoof, stomping the guildmaster ruthlessly into the mud. Just to be petty, it tears a colossal chunk of bedrock straight out of the earth for the finishing blow, while our fallen Lizard King can only watch, completely paralyzed by his critical HP. With an ear-splitting shockwave, the boulder slams into the crater, theoretically wiping him off the map. But up on a nearby ridge, a fresh mage wielding a battle spear fires off a massive magical strike. She is a certified gold-tier hunter, looking entirely too icy for this level of carnage. Her sidekick is already hyping her up, mind blown that she nailed the snipe from across the map. But her eyes are wide with shock, realizing she never actually finished casting, because down inside the impact zone, our hooded protagonist is just standing there, 0 damage taken. And a deeply confused Juzai, who somehow got teleported to safety, is trying to process if a max-level wizard just saved his life. The debris vanishes, and obviously it is our guy Yan Yang Gong pulling off the ultimate hero drop. Juzai's expression is just pure, unfiltered system error, as one of his own sleeper agents, still deep in stealth mode, whispers that the untouchable guild boss is looking a little worse for wear right now. The Lizard King demands to know if this dude just saved his life. Yan basically hits him with a, "Yeah, but do not flatter yourself, bro." Juzai's ego absolutely crumbles into dust. He is sweating bullets because he cannot even read the dude's level, totally glitching out over this insane power gap. So he instantly chugs that copium. He desperately convinces himself it is just some cheap cloaking skill and a total fluke. Yep, that is definitely it. Homeboy is out here clinging to his shattered pride like his life depends on it. Meanwhile, Yan just glares down at him, giving absolutely zero care to this pathetic little mental breakdown. Suddenly, the Minotaur gets tired of the sideline drama. It winds up a fist the size of a whole minivan and slams it down with a world-shaking shockwave. The beast screams to the heavens, totally clueless that it just walked straight onto somebody's radar. Bam! A fraction of a second later, a high-speed slug blasts, making the monster whip its head toward the cliffs, locking eyes with its new sniper. Enter a level 20 hunter, flexing a completely tricked-out, trap-boosting armor set. But this beefy boss is not about that long-distance chat, instantly squatting down for a massive jump, rocketing off the ridge with enough raw power to completely pulverize the cliffside. Our trapmaster barely even blinks. He fires off a glowing snare round straight into the sky, intercepting the flying ball of muscle, tangling up the big guy perfectly, right in the middle of his jump. With its launch speed instantly cancelled, the tied-up beast takes a nosedive straight back into the dirt, smashing into the jagged rocks like a hairy, overgrown meteorite. Over on the sidelines, one of Yan's demonic summons begs to pop their ultimate form, which promises a crazy damage multiplier, but leaves them super vulnerable. We are talking a pure glass cannon build here. But Yan instantly vetoes that idea. There are way too many eyeballs around for him to just casually drop his undercover act and go full Demon Lord mode. His minion casually drops the most unhinged fix. Just slaughter every single bystander. 0 witnesses, 0 problems. But before Yan can even reply, the earth literally explodes. The Minotaur just triggered one of the hunter's hidden landmines. Gigantic iron spikes violently rip through the soil, launching the massive boss directly into the sky, leaving the beast skewered and screaming out in pure agony. But the hunter clicks his tongue, realizing that brutal trap barely scratched the boss's health bar, which totally tracks considering this towering monstrosity is actually level 24. High up on the overlooking ridge, a gold-tier mage uses her scanning eye to read the real stats. Her lackey immediately calls game over, claiming a 4-level difference is straight-up impossible to beat. He hypes her up as a prodigy, but swears this random archer is doomed. But the mage just gives this knowing smirk, completely unconvinced that it is over. Back in the pit, our hunter is already sprinting, dragging the boss right along the canyon walls. He gracefully vaults over his own rigged explosive. The second the Minotaur's hoof touches it, the thing goes absolutely nuclear, swallowing the entire kill zone in blazing hellfire. A seriously nasty blast for a tiny landmine. But suddenly, a blazing fist tears right through the ash cloud. The beast stomps out without a single scratch, its whole body literally radiating pure, unfiltered rage. The mage's fanboy chuckles, mocking the hunter's hit-and-run tactics as child's play, just as the monster officially cracks into its berserker phase. 10 out of 10 jinx there, buddy. Now fully juiced up, the beast blitzes across the terrain, moving so fast the hunter realizes he is practically standing still. So he instantly drops his next trick. He pops a pitch-black swamp trap, sending slimy tendrils blasting out of the dirt to grip the charging monster. But this tank of a boss is already tearing through it, violently ripping itself out of the cursed sludge. Our boy does not let up. He starts rapid-firing his bow, raining down arrows to keep the pressure pinned on. But the shafts are literally plinking off the beast's thick armor, like cheap plastic toothpicks. The snarky sidekick immediately roasts the useless arrows. Yet his boss just flashes that same confident grin. Already seeing the real play. Plot twist. Every single arrow was rigged with a micro-explosive, a literal trap shot. And suddenly, the giant boss realizes it is completely plastered in tiny, blinking death charges, which all simultaneously pop off in an absolutely brutal, rapid-fire explosion. The lackey is forced to completely swallow his trash talk as the monster takes massive chip damage. But the master mage knows this fight is nowhere near finished. Down below, the hunter stares down the clearing smoke, bracing for the worst. He mutters to his hidden partner to keep their guard up, because this raid just started. Right on schedule, a pitch-black shadow blankets the ground. The beast dive bombs from the sky like a literal missile, blowing the hunter violently backward. Just from the raw shockwave of the landing. He tumbles backward, right into his very own snare trap. A massive net sweeps him up, trapping the wrong guy. Absolutely brilliant strategy there, my guy. Pinned down and out of options, he finally chokes down his huge ego and begs the mage for a carry, but a totally unfamiliar girl drops into the frame. She instantly roasts him for taking so long to crack, then casts a lethal, creeping death cloud, casually warning him to hold his breath. But our hunter? He just claps back from the dead center of that deadly smog, completely chilling like breathing in biohazards is literally no big deal. Meanwhile, this massive Minotaur boss is just tanking the hit, absolutely raging. It actually tries to brush off the lethal gas, waving its giant arms like the poison is just some annoying fly. Then, the beast flexes its raw power, detonating a massive shockwave that violently rips the sickening fog away, blasting the whole arena crystal clear. Way up on the high ground, the mages duo is just watching with their jaw on the floor, totally shook by the sudden blackout. But that toxic debuff is already locked in, melting the boss as disgusting, pitch-black blisters erupt all over its giant body. And that is the exact green light the hunter's teammate was waiting for, as she mercilessly triggers her rigged explosive trap. Boom! The whole contaminated zone gets instantly wiped out in an absolutely devastating, screen-clearing wave of hellfire.